Ceremony tomorrow at the White House. General Brown was unanimously confirmed as Air Force Chief in August 2020, becoming the first African-American service chief in U.S. history. If confirmed, he would be the second African-American chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff after the late Colin Powell. General Brown is an F-16 fighter pilot by training. He has more than 3,000 flight hours, including 130 combat hours.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis officially entering the race for the GOP presidential nomination. DeSantis taking aim at the current occupant of the White House, Joe Biden.
Our president, well, he lacks vigor, flounders in the face of our nation's challenges, and he takes his cues from the woke mob. I don't think it has to be this way. American decline is not inevitable. It is a choice, and we should choose a new direction, a path that will lead to American revitalization.
And DeSantis currently trails frontrunner Donald Trump in most polls. I'm Sue Guzman on the Fox News Rundown.
This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com.
Is the path to business prosperity to find your best clients?
Bongino.
In other words, people with big voices like News Talk STL, and then to kick them off the platform and attack them for barely stating an opinion?
Weekdays at 11.
Do you think that's an effective business model?
On News Talk STL.
Hey, Colombo here, reminding you that cybersecurity has never been more important, so you need to ask yourself, is your business prepared for a possible ransomware attack? And if you have any doubt, you need to call the team at ThrottleNet today. ThrottleNet provides world-class managed IT services and IT support to many local organizations, including my family's own small business. They're St. Louis's highest rated and most reviewed outsourced IT company, and there's many different ways ThrottleNet can help with your business's operation and digital protection. Learn more now at throttlenet.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents. Ted Drew's opened on Chippewa, and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. The city was booming. Unfortunately, St. Louis city streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline. St. Louis City Republicans believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. Learn more at stlouisrepublicans.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican Pat Curtis, Farber Treasurer.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Join the conversation. All you have to do is say,
Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, hey DirecTV viewers, Bill O'Reilly here, inviting you to watch the No Spin News on the First TV every night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Pundits parade from channel to channel, pushing nothing but speculation and their own partisan agenda. All that stops now with me, Bill O'Reilly, on the First TV. More than ever, Americans need facts, not spin. So please join me every night, 8 p.m. for the No Spin News on the First TV, DirecTV channel 347. On this Thursday, it is almost impossible to believe that 2 West Coast baseball teams will be honoring an anti-Christian hate group in June. The Los Angeles Dodgers and the LA Angels are set to bestow legitimacy on a group called the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence at their respective gay pride nights. The sisters, mainly transvestites dressed as nuns, have openly committed sacrilege against the Catholic Church by receiving communion and then defiling the wafer in front of cameras. In addition, the group put on a Jesus and Mary themed strip show that featured a performer writhing upside down on a wooden cross. That was followed by shirtless men competing to be crowned the hunkiest Jesus. This is the group the Dodgers and Angels, sorry for the irony, are honoring on the baseball field. If any other religion was demeaned this way, federal hate crime statutes would be employed. But in America, you can bash Christians all day long, and that is flat out wrong. The Dodgers and Angels deserve scorn. There is no excuse. This has nothing to do with gay pride or anything like that. In fact, I believe most homosexuals are appalled by this. Back in a moment. If you are a timeshare owner, you're probably upset that your yearly dues continue to increase. Lone Star Transfer guarantees the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and done in a specific time frame. They're the only company you can trust, having helped more than 18,000 owners legally and permanently get out. So please call Lone Star Transfer 855-551-7066 or visit LoneStarTransfer.com. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Nice and mild this morning and dry with lower humidity and mild temperatures. A beautiful start to the day. We'll see a mix of clouds and sun with lots of sun at times and the high temperature about 79 degrees. But lower humidity today. Even better tomorrow. Full-on sunshine. Lows in the low 50s in the morning and Friday's high in the mid to upper 70s. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Title 42 is expiring.
What happens next?
Texas, we're taking matters into our own hands.
Happens right here.
Every American needs to say to the Biden administration, you were elected to enforce the law.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Did you check out that Twitter conversation last night? Elon Musk, Governor Ron DeSantis, as he was announcing his presidential campaign. If you did, what did you think? Okay, so I'm looking at the Rumble chat box right now. Let me know. I may read your comments a little bit later on today. I'm sure we'll have the phone lines open for you to comment as well. Or if you're on Facebook, you can just hit up the comments and we'll check those out. Tweet at us at News Talk STL. Okay, interesting approach to launching a campaign, doing it with Elon Musk on Twitter to start off a campaign. Interesting. So what does Ron DeSantis bring to the presidential race? By the way, I'm Mike Ferguson. I think you knew that. We caught up with Jerry Wilson from RedState.com. He's been covering the entrance of Ron DeSantis into the race, and we got his take on what DeSantis brings to that contest. Here's what he had to say.
Jerry Wilson is a writer with RedState.com. His article, Ron DeSantis to officially announce 2024 presidential bid on Wednesday. And you can find that and all the follow-up stories on RedState.com. He joins us right now. And Jerry, first of all, hey, thanks for being on the show. Secondly, let me start before we get into the impact of the presence of Ron DeSantis in this race. What do you make of him going the social media, Twitter, announce it in a conversation with Elon Musk route to start his campaign? I find that fascinating.
To me, it means that Ron DeSantis knows that it is, in fact, the 21st century. And it also ties in well with his overall theme of either ignoring or directly confronting the mainstream media with good reason, because they're out for blood. Why hassle with going to CNN or MSNBC or any variations thereof when you can go straight to the people via Twitter and actually appear on what is a neutral platform. A lot of people seem to think Elon Musk is some type of super right-wing conservative. He's not. He's a middle-of-the-road libertarian. And this way, DeSantis can reach people directly and also present himself alongside someone who's not going to be a cheerleader, but is going to ask fair and tough questions and is going to provide that neutral platform that you can't get anywhere else.
Good morning, Jerry. Gabe Pfeiffer here. I actually wanted to bring that aspect up. Something Mike had mentioned earlier was, what do you think about going this route where you could get some tough questions versus just having a big rally with all of your supporters? And you have the red, white, and blue balloons. You know, what do you think about? From a campaign standpoint, DeSantis kind of putting himself into this position.
Because Elon Musk isn't going to say, give me my script. Elon Musk is going to ask him what he wants to ask him.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And to me, that's a definite, I don't know exactly what the word would be because it's 6:30 in the morning out here. But
sorry.
Not a problem. Some of us have to get up early. To me, that is a strong point in favor of DeSantis in the fact that he's not, quote, going into the lion's den, unquote, but he's at least going into the cats in a bad mood den, and that he's going to be going against, not really going against Elon Musk, but he's going with someone who is going to ask the tough but fair questions. And he's going to immediately present himself directly to the people as somebody who's unafraid to deal with individuals who are, while on one hand not going to be unfair with him, on the other hand aren't going to mollycoddle him and just feed him cushy questions that are going to be marshmallows that he can just hit out of the park left, right, and center.
Jerry, what does Ron DeSantis need to do to set himself apart from the rest of the candidates? I mean, obviously, everybody's looking at this as a showdown between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. What does Ron DeSantis need to do to win over those people who say, man, I like Trump's policies, but, you know, I want to focus on the general election? I guess the question is, what's the winning strategy and message for Ron DeSantis in this primary or caucus season?
Focus on achievements, and he's got a long list of achievements in Florida, and focus on the issues, leave the personal attacks and stuff to the other candidates, especially Donald Trump. And before any of the pro-Trump supporters out there immediately write me off, I am not anti-Donald Trump. I voted for him twice, and if he's the nominee, I'll definitely vote for him again. But Trump carries a lot of baggage, and he tends to take things way too personally. DeSantis is much more focused, to this point at least, on the issues. He doesn't make things personal, even when he's directly taking on a teachers union or Disney. As long as he keeps up that and he keeps putting his policies out first and foremost and leaves the personal stuff to the other candidates, I think he'll do just fine.
Two sort of related questions. What do you think his impact on the race is going to be for the third and I guess fourth tier of the candidates versus, you know, obviously his contention with Donald Trump? And what do you think the polls are going to show in a few months when we actually see a campaigning DeSantis versus Donald Trump?
As far as the other candidates out there, I think they're in the exact same position they were before he entered the race, which is thanks for coming and why are you wasting your time? It's very difficult not to subscribe to the theory that a lot of the candidates that are out there currently running are actually vying more for a position in either the Trump or DeSantis administration, should they win next year, rather than believing they actually have a legitimate shot at winning the nomination. Now, I mean, I really like Tim Scott. I think he's a great senator. I think he's a great Republican and a great man. He would make an awesome vice president, but let's be realistic. He stands, unless something incredibly bizarre happens, he stands no chance whatsoever of winning the nomination. So I believe in the case of his case, I should say, or the case of a Nikki Haley, I believe they're more positioning themselves for possible future administration positions. As far as what the polls will show, who knows? Polls, to me, especially at this point in time, are meaningless And as we've learned over the past few years, polls are meaningless even on Election Day. So I'm not really concerned about them. I suspect you will see a greater tightening up of the polls as DeSantis gets his message out directly to voters. I don't think he's going to be swinging too many of the hardcore Trump supporters his way, but there is that base out there of Republican voters who like Trump but are a little tired of the baggage that comes with him. And once they actually hear what DeSantis has to say, I think they'll start swinging his direction, and I think you'll start seeing those polls really tighten up.
Good morning, Jerry. This is Stal Ponticus. DeSantis made numerous visits to Iowa and New Hampshire. I didn't sense that those visits made that much of an impact in both of those states. Does today's announcement need to make a big impact, or am I expecting too much?
I suspect it'll make a medium impact. I think those of us who spend a lot of time on Twitter sometimes overemphasize the importance of Twitter in the general conversation. I don't think he really needs to just blow everybody away today. I believe he's going to try to build his campaign organically, to use a California phrase. He is probably going to start slowly and just take his time. I know I was speaking with a dear friend of mine who lives out in Wisconsin, where he was recently, and he was just talking to a relatively small group of people, one-on-one as people, not really trying to make any massive impact or political statement. I believe you'll see a lot more of that, of him just talking to small groups of voters organically and reaching people through reaching people, reaching person A who will go out and tell their friends, who will go out and tell their friends, rather than trying to make the big splash. I don't think you're going to be seeing any Trump-sized rallies for DeSantis. I think you're going to be seeing much more smaller, focused groups and letting the word spread out naturally from those.
We're visiting with Jerry Wilson from redstate.com. You can see his coverage of the DeSantis campaign there at redstate.com. Okay, let me follow up on that. That's one of the things I think a lot of people look at. Well, Donald Trump can get, 5,000-10,000 people to attend a rally, so therefore he's got more support. Is that inherently true? Or when you come to states like New Hampshire, like Iowa, like here in this area, Missouri and Illinois, where you're dealing with caucuses and sometimes regional primaries, where, you do have a more boots on the ground type of approach, can that approach compete with those big numbers that we see in the news and carried on the cable outlets that show, a massive number of people? I mean, can that organic type of campaign work over the long term and compete with that, with the Trump style?
I believe it can. It's not going to look like it's doing so, especially in the beginning. But remember that Trump has tremendous star power, and he has tremendous appeal to his supporters. So it's only natural he's going to be able to draw and continue to draw massive crowds at his rallies. DeSantis is not at that level yet, but he is at a level where his name is a known quantity among the party faithful. And so my thought is that, you're going to be able to see him gradually eat into Trump's lead by going ahead and going the organic route. Obviously, there's going to need to be big movements here and there. I mean, there will eventually have to be some type of mainstream media coverage other than the, oh my God, he's worse than Hitler stuff that we keep seeing and we're already seeing. But I believe that you can reach people organically. It's going to be kind of a different campaign because it's going to irritate the mainstream media even more that he's not providing the major massive sound bites. But as far as actually reaching people where they're at, going down to that level, I shouldn't really say going down because you're not going down at all when you're dealing with people one-on-one, but going to that level, I believe, is an effective way of campaigning, making that personal connection. A lot of people feel they have a personal connection with Trump because they know him so well, because they've seen him on TV so many times. DeSantis doesn't have as much of that, so I suspect a lot of the reason why he's going the organic route, other than the fact that there's no real need to try to go one-on-one against Trump on Trump's terms, is to let people know that there is a human being behind the statements against Disney, behind the fights to open up his state in the face of the pandemic, to let people know that there is, in fact, a human being going on in there, and it's not just image and show and the occasional soundbite that might filter through the media. But let people know more about him and let them know that this is a man they can trust, should they entrust him with their vote, to do what he says he's going to do, which is basically go into Washington and clean house, hard, fast, and continuously.
Hey, real quick, because I'm a little heavy on the segment here, visiting with Jerry Wilson again from redstate.com. Policy-wise, there are some differences between DeSantis and Trump, but not that much. I mean, essentially, you've got a similar political outlook. So is this really going to come down to a contest of personalities or of, who do you think is going to be the most effective leader? Because I don't know that there's that much of a policy difference between the two.
I agree. There really isn't any huge policy disagreements between the two. You might be able to pick around the issue of how the two of them approached the COVID-19 matter, but that's realistically in the rearview mirror right now. There will be a certain personality conflict. I mean, Trump's personality is definitely larger than life. DeSantis is a bit more reserved. I believe that will be both advantage and disadvantage. Obviously, the larger-than-life personality is going to attract more attention from people who otherwise might not pay attention. But DeSantis' more measured approach, I believe, is going to appeal to people who are a little tired of the drama. And also, I believe that DeSantis' wife's Casey's story of having, raised children and having beaten cancer is going to have an appeal. I'm sure that the mainstream media, they already have tried to attack her, which is insane. But I believe that a story of the devoted family man, you don't have lawsuits and this and that and the other going on around them, is also going to play well, especially in segments where people want to see someone who's unafraid to share their faith. I mean, DeSantis just recently appeared at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention, if memory serves me right, but doesn't carry the excesses, shall we say, that Trump has been known for throughout his life.
We've got the news roundup coming your way here in just a couple of minutes. Later on today, 7:35, Missouri Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe going to be with us. We've heard from Bill Eigel. We've heard from Jay Ashcroft recently. Lieutenant Governor Kehoe also running for governor. We'll get his take on the recent legislative session and also get his thoughts on his campaign for governor and why he thinks he should be the guy to lead the state after the next election. But that news roundup, like I said, coming your way in just about 3 minutes and 50 seconds on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
It's Thursday. We'll talk about Ron DeSantis' announcement, non-announcement, and at 4:25, we'll speak with Dakota Wood from the Heritage Foundation.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Weekdays at 3:30
on News Talk STL.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote and accelerate the development of quality Christ-centered K-12 education.
Hi, this is Daryl Jones, president of the Herzog Foundation. Our primary goal is to advance Christian education so that families and culture flourish. The legacy of Stan's business career centers around making national transit ecosystems accessible and sustainable. Likewise, the legacy of Stan's philanthropy centers around making the ecosystems of Christian education more accessible and sustainable for families across the nation. Visit HerzogFoundation.com to learn more about our programs, including trainings, scholarships, conferences, news, and our podcast, Making the Leap.
Visit HerzogFoundation.com to learn more and sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. HerzogFoundation.com.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
I'm here with Dr. Howard Wall. Let's talk Social Security. Howard, I'd like to retire someday. Will Social Security actually be there?
Social Security is financed by payroll taxes and an accounting trick called the Social Security Trust Fund. For a few years now, the amount coming in has been too low to cover benefits, so the trust fund has been shrinking.
Well, then how much time is left?
In about 11 years, the trust fund will be empty, and benefits will be cut immediately and automatically by about 20%. The topic has been declared off the table by both parties, but taking it off the table will not keep it from driving itself and the federal budget off a fiscal cliff.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
This news update brought to you by Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. Call Anton's at 314-338-3941 or visit them at antonshvac.com.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Tune in to us at 8 p.m. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Okay, Ron DeSantis' campaign is launched with some technical difficulties.
And that's being kind.
Oh, my goodness.
That was rough.
Yeah, that really was. Also, a top Democratic official is angry at Target. Apparently, the company isn't standing strong enough in its pro-grooming merchandise for the governor's taste. I wish that were a hyperbolic tease, but that's actually the situation. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. And an international legend with St. Louis roots passes away. All right, it's 5:53. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Stel Ponticus here. All right, going to try to get through as much of this as we can here in the next 4 minutes or so before the information break. Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign got off to a rough start. I think that's fair to say. Regardless of who you support in the race, that was a rough start. Twitter's audio feed of his discussion with Elon Musk crashed. Never really stayed up and running. They had to reset the whole thing, but they did cover some ground, and then he went on to Fox a little bit later on. The presidential candidate now was on with Fox News Tonight, guest hosted by Trey Gowdy, and among the many issues he was asked about was illegal immigration.
Day one, it's a national emergency. We'll mobilize all resources to construct the border wall, shut the border down. We're not going to be entertaining asylum claims for people coming across the border illegally. We're going to make very clear about that. We're going to have things like remain in Mexico, so we don't have the incentives to come illegally.
All right, and I'm going to be looking at the Rumble chat box if you want to give me your impressions, or just give me a call, 314-912-1019. Stel and Gabe are going to be watching. They're going to be watching Facebook and Twitter. Okay, both the city and county of St. Charles are suing Ameren over water contamination, and this is a conflict that's gone back years and years, and finally it's going to end up in court. Now, this is all related to problems with the Elm Post Wellfield substation. The water is safe to drink now, but the city has had to purchase about $2 million of water from St. Louis in recent years. Some of the problems, according to Ameren, happened because of cleaning chemicals that were used many years ago. This is going to be incredibly complicated and high-level legalese type of stuff, but there's a lawsuit now over that water issue. Former Missouri Speaker of the House, Republican John Deal, who represented part of the St. Louis Metro, is fined $47,000 by the Missouri Ethics Commission, and that is for underreporting campaign funds, using campaign money to pay some personal expenses, although he has paid that back, and for not reporting financial donations. However, if he pays the fine within the next 6 weeks or so, he's only going to owe $10,000 of that $47,000. So pay it quickly, and he can
get a discount.
Get a big discount. Discount from the State Missouri Ethics Commission. Basically, when you're dealing with millions and millions of dollars that goes through somebody who rises to the level of Speaker of the House, $10,000 is kind of a little bit of a slap on the wrist. Now, remember, John Deal was Speaker very, very briefly because he is the one who was like texting the spicy stuff with the intern, and he ended up being pushed out and had to resign. Okay, now I don't talk in over-the-top terms too often, but I don't think it's over the top to say Tina Turner's career was iconic in pop and in rock music.
I would totally agree.
Yeah, one of the very few, I think you could say that. The superstar who graduated from Sumner High School in 1958. She was 83 years old. She passed away in Switzerland, where she'd lived for several years, and apparently she had whatever health condition that led to her passing. I don't know what it was. She'd been retired for a number of years. She's actually was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which, by the way, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a joke.
It is.
But she's actually been inducted twice.
It's a fun place to visit, but the list of artists in there is a joke.
Oh, yeah, and the list of artists who are, say, the ones who are not there is also a joke. But she's rightfully in there a couple of times. So we'll talk about it a little bit more. Be thinking about what is your favorite Tina Turner song? It's going to be hard to pick because there's so many great ones out there, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on as well, especially with that St. Louis connection. Okay, the Reds thumped the Cardinals in Cincinnati last night. Final score was 10-3. Brendan Donovan, Lars Nootbaar both had home runs. Final game of the series, which, by the way, the Cincinnati Reds lead the series 2-1 right now, so the Cardinals are hoping for a split. But that is the early game in Major League Baseball. That game starts at 11:35 our time, so bright and early in the morning in Cincinnati. Gonna play some baseball.
The one thing that still bothers me is the starting pitching staff. Another start last night of only 4 innings.
Yeah, well, and the relief didn't exactly
it didn't
knock
help
the doors down either.
No.
Yeah, that's the weak spot. They've got to make some moves and get that shore up. You got too much other talent everywhere else on the field, but you're right, Stell. Absolutely. It's absolutely been atrocious at times.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue, and after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
iHelp is the immigrant home English learning program here in St. Louis that helps empower immigrant families by providing individualized in-home English language education and tools for the effective navigation of our community. iHelp connects volunteer teachers with adult immigrant and refugee learners in our community to develop English and life skills. To learn more or to volunteer as a tutor, visit ihelpstl.org. That's ihelpstl.org.
Home is where the heart is, but it's also where the money is too. If you want to make the most of your home, whether you're buying, selling, or staying put, tune into HomeWise, the financial talk show that gives you the real deal on home ownership. HomeWise tells you the secrets that banks, realtors, and contractors don't want you to know, and shows you how to save thousands of dollars on your mortgage, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. HomeWise, how to get the most out of every dollar you put into your home. Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis makes it official.
Well, I am running for President of the United States to lead our great American comeback.
DeSantis took to Twitter last evening announcing his White House bid, says one of his priorities as president would be getting the U.S. economy back on track.
American decline is not inevitable. It is a choice, and we should choose a new direction, a path that will lead to American revitalization. We must restore sanity to our nation.
Technically, it was a problem-plagued rollout with dropouts and delays in the audio, Twitter chief Elon Musk blaming overtaxed servers. The Trump campaign says DeSantis lacks the experience that's crucial to serving as president. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says there's nothing at all radical or extreme about the concessions Republicans seek in debt ceiling talks with President Biden and the Democrats.
If we had spent money, billions of dollars, for a pandemic, that money has sat there for 2 years, pull it back. If we can have a provision to help people find jobs, let's do that.
The White House says it's confident there will be no government defaults, even as it warns of a potential catastrophe.
As budget and debt talks resumed between White House and congressional negotiators, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre warned that a default would be devastating.
We're talking about millions of jobs lost, devastated retirement accounts, and a recession.
At the same time, she said it's welcome news that the talks are ongoing.
The negotiations have been productive, which is what matters.
Greg Clugston, Washington.
Here's a guy seen on video putting his feet up on the desk of then House Speaker Pelosi. Richard Barnett sentenced to 4.5 years prison for his role in the 2020 U.S. Capitol riot. Dow futures down 68. More on these stories, townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Corey, and this is my story. I was going through some financial troubles paying off my credit cards. I was paying high interest rates, and it just wasn't getting any better. And I knew I had to do something. So my mom told me about Trinity, and so I decided to call. Trinity was able to do something that I couldn't. I'm paying off my debt. I'm saving thousands, and things are really looking up. I promise you guys, you will not regret it when you called Trinity, because it was such a relief and less stress in my life, and it was the best thing I could have done for myself, because once I called Trinity, they took care of me, and I felt such a relief, a weight off my shoulders. Trinity was great to work with. They wanted to help me. I love it.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
I'm Corey, and I'm debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Nice and mild this morning and dry with lower humidity and mild temperatures. A beautiful start to the day. We'll see a mix of clouds and sun with lots of sun at times, and the high temperature about 79 degrees, but lower humidity today. Even better tomorrow. Full-on sunshine. Lows in the low 50s in the morning, and Friday's high in the mid to upper 70s. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
When it's important to you,
stay informed.
It's on News Talk STL.
Yeah, I know. I just announced my re-election campaign.
2024 is the final battle.
News, analysis, and opinion.
There has never been a greater contrast.
Been down this road before.
Ours being greatness and theirs being failure.
I know the danger he presents to our democracy.
These differences are fundamental.
I don't think you should run again.
101.9 and 94.1.
When you weigh up, what's the purpose of doing the debate?
News Talk STL. This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
About a month ago or so, I'm having lunch with one of my friends, and he was telling me that he just bought a home and he was renting it out. So he had to do a little bit of renovation on it. The house wasn't in too bad a shape, but he was kind of complaining because he had to replace a lot of the windows in this home. It was a little bit older, and I said, well, what'd you do? Where'd you find the windows? He said, well, I just went down to one of those home improvement stores. I'm like, Pedro, dude, oh, man, did you miss out? He should have gone to my friends at Window World. Mike Ferguson here for Window World. They are simply the best for less. And I told him, I said, Pedro, I said, you probably would have paid less to get those windows that would have been custom cut for this home that you bought. And they're going to be more energy efficient. You'd probably be able to pitch that to your renters and as a little more energy efficient, so they'd have lower utility bills, and they would be covered with a lifetime warranty. And he kind of sat back and he said, I didn't know that. Well, now you do. 314-993-1800. If you've got rental property and you just want to make sure that they are covered with that lifetime warranty, that's the way to go. 314-993-1800. Or how about your own home? I mean, talk about the peace of mind. I mean, double strength glass windows. You're not going to find that strength in every window out there. You're certainly not going to get them at the home improvement stores where you're going to probably pay more anyway. So you can pay less up front, then pay less over the length of the house and the life of the house, and then you can be covered by a lifetime warranty just in case something goes wrong, which, by the way, it's probably not. That's how strong these windows are. So give them a call at 314-993-1800. They do have 18 months same as cash financing with approved credit, or you can learn more at windowworld.com. But find out what they can do for you. Give them a call to their offices in Earth City, 314-993-1800. Set up your free in-home estimate. They will tell you what they can do for you. They will show you the windows, let you examine them yourselves, and then make up your own mind. They don't need to do a high-pressure sale. They don't need to bug you constantly after that. You're going to see what the difference is, and they're here to help you, and then be there for the life of your home with that lifetime warranty. So give them a call, 314-993-1800.
Conservative talk for St. Louis.
It's your patriotic right and duty. The government needs to step up and do its job.
This is News Talk STL.
It's well-balanced conversation.
News, analysis, opinion. Mike Ferguson.
Just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I love Jesus. He was my superhero. Twitter is like being able to read every toilet wall in the world.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, the governor who wants to be president sits down with the tech mogul who has to restart the thingy on the computer. That's pretty much how it went last night. Oh, goodness. All right. So in the face of the market saying, you've crossed the line, more politicians and big companies are tripling and quadrupling down on pushing LGBT stuff on kids. We're going to get to that at 6:20 because I've got a couple updates for you.
Oh, yeah, there's more.
This just gets dumber and dumber and dumber. And I'm not saying that in a let's laugh at it way. There's a lot of evil involved here.
Absolutely.
This is, and we've been saying this, Gabe, for months. This is the hill to stake your flag on. This is the hill to die on if you are concerned at all about future generations and the culture of this country.
Yeah, I mean, we're literally having battles about the nature of truth itself, about the nature of reality. And if you give this up, then all bets are off. Everything is up for grabs, and you've got nobody to blame but yourself, and you're going to look back and say, why didn't I stand up back then?
Yeah, exactly. So 6:20, we'll talk about that a little bit more. Okay, so Ron DeSantis' technical difficulty-filled campaign launch. I was doing a little bit of yard work yesterday right around 5 o'clock, and I thought, well, I'll just put my speakerphone on, and I'll just get onto Twitter, and I'll just listen to the DeSantis-Elon Musk conversation. And I couldn't. I guess that's when it was crashing, and so I waited for a while. I couldn't get the thing to play, so I've been catching parts of it today. And then, of course, DeSantis had a good backup. He went on to Fox News with Fox News Tonight, which was being hosted by Trey Gowdy last night. So he did this long-form interview with Trey Gowdy. But, yeah, that's Twitter crashed. I mean, whatever that program was that they had, it just absolutely crashed. They covered a lot of ground, but what a mess to launch a campaign.
Here's the part I don't understand. His company can send rockets, Gabe, into the stratosphere, and yet trying to handle a situation like what they had last night, 21 minutes pretty much of dead air until they finally were able to figure it out and switch the accounts from Elon over to David Sachs. And then it went well from there on. But those 21 minutes, whoa, talk about stumbling out of the gate.
Well, it really shows the difference between rocket science and communications because the thing is, maybe I've just been in the kind of computer YouTube sort of space for too long. It's like, well, yeah, you're gonna have trouble with your first live stream. I mean, that like everybody has that trouble, and especially if we're talking about. I think the numbers were ridiculous. The numbers were something astronomical that I don't think they were prepared for, which is why it crashed. Is the number of people trying to initiate contact with it. If you ever have had a denial of service attack on your server, that's basically when a hacker tries to gain access to your server, like go on your website. Multiple times over and over and over again, and it just crashes the system by volume. This wasn't even an attack. This was just people interested. I actually think that's a win, but maybe that's just me.
No, I would agree when you have 300,000 to 400,000 initially, and then it climbed up to about 800,000, maybe up to 1 million.
Yeah.
All of those folks trying to get into the Twitter space.
Yeah.
Oh, man, yeah.
I would agree that it's a win, but still I would have thought you've got brilliant engineers, at least I thought you did. Couldn't you at least anticipate something like this in the political landscape that we've got today?
Bottom line is I don't think this hurts DeSantis' campaign, even if for frustrated people who want to listen. I think it looks worse for Twitter than it does for DeSantis.
I would agree.
Probably. Yeah. Although, again, to me, I'm just like, man, 250,000 people tried to get to my thing. They couldn't for 20 minutes, but then they stayed.
Yeah.
It's like
or came back.
That's still a win for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm the weird one out. I keep hearing everybody saying, "Oh my gosh, such a debacle," and I'm like, it worked out okay. I mean, you have a glitch. It's a glitch. I don't know. My computer glitches all the time. And I do rocket science for a living, so maybe I'm used to it. I don't know.
And the thing is, DeSantis handled it well, I thought. Yeah. He didn't seem flustered. I know he was in Florida, and they were at Twitter headquarters, Elon and David Sachs. But once they switched it over to David Sachs's account, everything went smoothly, and Ron seemed to just kind of take it in stride. It was fine.
Yeah, he's got kind of that that even-keeled demeanor when he's speaking. I mean, even when he pushes back against, leftist reporters and stuff, he'll raise his voice to take control of the conversation, but then he doesn't rant and rave. He just, even keel is how he kind of gets his point across. But they did cover a lot of issues, both between that and on the interview on Fox. One of them they talked about was the federal budget, and DeSantis correctly, like pretty much all the Republican candidates at this point, they are pointing to the level of spending. And here's what DeSantis had to say.
Right now, we have a situation where Joe Biden is refusing to do really anything to try to limit how much money is being spent. And I think he's been singularly irresponsible in terms of how he's handled the federal budget.
Yeah, the only thing I would disagree with there is that he's not singularly responsible. You cannot forego the responsibility of congressional Democrats as well. Now, they're following the lead of President Biden, so I think the point's well taken. But, I think that DeSantis is correct to aim his fire at Biden as opposed to, all of his opponents. There'll be plenty of time for that. But right out of the gate, he's doing the right thing, Gabe, by saying this is about defeating Joe Biden in 2024.
Absolutely. That laser focus on who the opponent is, I think, is one of the things that's going to serve him best during his campaign. Every time something bad happens, he's going to say, "See, Biden."
Yeah, that's right.
And then he's like, "I can replace that guy." And most people are just going to kind of nod and say, "Yeah, you're right. It's his fault, and you probably would be better."
I am going to give the Biden-Harris team credit where credit is due, though. So they put out on social media a kind of a graphic and a link. They were trying to raise money, basically, whenever somebody enters the race who's a Republican, who's conservative. Then they want to do the scaremongering and like, you got to donate to our campaign because, well, they just put up the graphic asking for money, and it just said, this link works.
Yeah, that was good. It was good.
That was funny.
I mean, you got to take it where you can take it. Right?
I'm not giving him any money, of course. But,
no, of course.
But I thought it was funny. I mean, I'm like, all right, whatever, social media manager that you hired fresh out of, Berkeley or whatever, actually had a pretty funny one there.
That was a cute little zinger.
Yeah, it was. That was
Although I doubt 750,000 people are going to try to get there.
No, I think that is safe to say. All right, I know we got to get to an information segment here in just a minute. I hated to hear the news. Tina Turner.
Yeah.
I love Tina Turner's music.
Yeah.
I mean, I discovered her as many children of the 80s with the Private Dancer album. And then it's like some other bands that, I discovered. You hear about it in the 80s, and she was because I'm more of a rock guy, but she was more of a kind of a blend between pop and rock. Is that fair to say? She's somewhere in that pop and rock category. She was never a dance music person like Cher or whatever. It was guitars, it was drums, it was bass, 80s, it was synthesizers. But that Private Dancer album came out, and that's how my generation, Gabe, probably, maybe you're a little bit younger than I am, but
not by much.
I mean, but that's where I discovered her, and then I went and found the stuff from the 70s.
Yeah, I mean, her resurgence, and I heard Chris Arps kind of talking about this, kind of living through both kind of the tail end of her early success and then watching her comeback.
Yeah, because Chris is, old.
Yeah. He's
Hey.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Stell. No, but Stell saw this too. Tina Turner's, initial success, her deal with
Ike Turner.
Ike.
Yeah.
Gosh, I couldn't remember.
Beat the crap out
of her. Yeah, that whole debacle, which you could probably see in her biopic, right? But I kind of found her during her resurgence years. That was the early 80s. And, I really got into it when she showed up in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
There you go.
I mean, because I was the 80s movie kid,
And
right?
she was a villain.
She was a villain of sorts. She was kind of a gray character.
Yeah.
It was very I liked her character. I was like, that's a neat character right there. And then of course I found out, oh wow, she sung this song for that movie. And oh wait, and she does all this other stuff. That's the voice I keep hearing in my sister's room.
Yeah, that was We Don't Need Another Hero, right? Was that the song? Yeah, that was a song for that
from
one,
Thunderdome.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and I discovered her as a force, and she really was a force in music in the 80s.
I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I think that she was the first woman to sell out like an arena concert tour. Which would have been in the mid 80s. Rock bands could do that, but it was unusual for solo artists to do that. I think, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think she was the first woman to actually, sell out that tour on that big of a venue stage.
Oh, I would definitely agree with you, because she had one that I believe was a record setter in South America with over 100,000 tickets sold at an outdoor venue.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how popular she was. And I am telling you, at 83, because I think her last concert was 10 years ago, something like that. So she was in her 70s, and I would have paid big money to be at that concert. I mean, I regret that I never saw her in concert, because she was a phenomenal entertainer. And now this weekend, I'm probably going to go watch that movie about her life with Angela Bassett.
Yeah. Yep. That's it.
What a great entertainer. And yes, St. Louis, we have a claim to Tina Turner.
She's ours.
Yep. She was ours for like 3 years, but hey, it were formative years. She started her musical career here in St. Louis.
It's a big deal.
That's actually true. It is. A lot of flowers laying at her walk, her star on the St. Louis, walk on Del Mar.
In U City, yes.
In U City. There's a lot of people went out there putting flowers and pictures and candles and stuff like that. So a little bit later on today, guys, be thinking, what was your favorite Tina Turner song, if you can narrow it down to just one? Okay, just ahead here, the craziness from the hard left. It's not just roll your eyes at this. It's beyond time to get angry. I'll tell you about that just ahead, right around 6:22 on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
We are the ones they left behind. And I wonder when we are ever gonna change. Living under the fear till nothing else remains. We don't need another hero. We don't need to know the way home.
Hey, Tony Colombo here with Tim Jones for the Walner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway. My wife and I wake up every day thankful to the Walners for the great new home they helped us find and for the tremendous success we experienced while selling our old home. The Walners have years of experience and a work ethic that is second to none, and for us, the results speak for themselves. But Tim, it's not just the Colombo family. So many St. Louis families have been helped by Rodney and Jen Walner.
They sure have, Tony. So if you have been thinking about selling your home, don't wait. The market is changing, but it's still a great time to sell. Put that experience and work ethic to work for you and see firsthand why the Walners sell 15 times more homes per year than your typical realtor before this window of opportunity passes you by. If you've been thinking about selling your home, don't wonder to yourself about how much you can get for it or how fast it could sell. Just call the Walner team now and get those answers so you don't have to worry or wonder another day. Just call 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD for the Walner Home Selling Team.
Colombo and Katie.
Why is an issue like this not happening for trans men in sports? We understand and recognize, even if you are a biological woman and you're taking hormones, testosterone, you've done surgeries, you physically will not be able to compete with a man in those sports. If it's about trans activism, then why is it only happening in women's sports?
Tony Colombo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Now, the Onder Prescription with Dr. Bob Onder.
I'm Dr. Bob Onder. You hear a lot these days about the debt ceiling and how Republicans better do what Biden wants or catastrophe will ensue. Nonsense. The federal government takes in $400 billion every month. There's not going to be a default on the debt. But what has happened is that House Republicans under Speaker Kevin McCarthy have moved for fiscal sanity. The House Republican bill to raise the debt ceiling caps fiscal 2024 spending at the level 2 years ago, before Biden and the Democrats started spending like drunken sailors. It also caps spending growth at 1% for the next 9 years. It rescinds the unspent COVID money, repeals Green New Deal pork, and cuts funding for new IRS agents. Those sound like pretty darn good ideas to me. It's time for Biden and the Democrats to realize that, yes, we need to raise the debt ceiling, but we need fiscal responsibility as well. I'm Dr. Bob, and that's my prescription.
Find more Dr. Bob Onder at bobondermo.com. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, it's Joe Pags. Catch me tonight at 7 o'clock. But right now, back to more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Guarantee you we're going to have some of the best bump music you're ever going to hear today because it's Tina Turner.
Absolutely.
All right, so around 6:50, let's just plan on it right now. You can tell me on Rumble. You can tell Stell and Gabe on Facebook or Twitter now. Favorite Tina Turner song? I mean, that's hard to... Stell, when you were grabbing your papers there, Gabe and I were talking about that. I'm like, how do you narrow it down? I mean, there's this one, but man, I really like this one. It's hard to narrow it down.
You know, you had the pop rock, R&B stuff early with Proud Mary and River Deep Mountain High in the late 60s, early 70s. And then there was a gap, and then all of a sudden, bam, in the early 80s to I would say early 80s to the early 90s, she dominated the charts with a ton of great hit songs.
One after the other.
Yeah.
The golden MTV era.
Yes.
Really.
And I think she paved the way for every other artist to come after her.
Especially the female ones.
Yeah, exactly. Like Whitney Houston is Whitney Houston, I think, because of Tina Turner.
Yeah.
And Beyonce?
In many ways. Beyonce after that. Yes, exactly.
Beyonce would be a whole generation or 2 generations later.
Yeah, after Whitney. Yeah.
Madonna, all of them. All right, so 6:50. Be thinking about that, or you can just let us know on social media. It's 6:23 right now. I might got Gabe here, got Stell here. I don't want to get into what we're saying the same thing every day because we could probably every single day do a look at this woke corporation segment.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, you can do it. I don't understand it from a business or a marketing. I mean, I'm a communications guy. I mean, this is what I studied. This is my craft. This is what I've done in one version or another since the early 90s. And I'm pretty good at what I do. And I don't know what could possibly be going on in corporate boardrooms or in marketing agencies to where they basically say, this is what the market does not want. Let's shove it down their throats. I don't get it. I don't get it. But what about when politicians do that in particular? It's even worse. So we've got a couple of things to cover here in the next couple minutes. First of all, Gavin Newsom, governor of California. Don't kid yourself, by the way, possible future president.
Oh, man.
Don't kid yourself.
What?
It is very possible this guy will be president in the next 12 to 16 years.
I need a drink here.
I know. So he tweets out, or whatever social media platform it was, he says, and I quote, because he's mad at Target for backing down on some of the backlash. And just as context, remember, the backlash isn't over the fact that they've got rainbow pride T-shirts that they're selling. Everybody's doing that. Nobody cares anymore. It's that they are targeting children with so-called trans and gender ideology merchandise and cards and girls' swimsuits made for boys and for boys' body parts. And so Target, as we now know, tried to quietly say, all right, get that stuff in the back in some areas. Don't make people too angry. You know, basically Target said, we've got a business to run, but at the same time, we want to push this.
Yeah,
so
keep
Target,
it quiet.
Target didn't even back down that much. But Gavin Newsom says on social media, and I'm quoting here, CEO of Target, Brian Cornell, selling out the LGBTQ plus community to extremists is a real profile in courage. This isn't just a couple stores in the South. There is a systematic attack on the gay community happening across the country. Here's the part to pay attention to. This is Gavin Newsom talking again. Wake up, America. This doesn't stop here. You're black, you're Asian, you're Jewish, you're a woman, you're next. So he's equating people complaining about you're selling a girl's swimsuit targeting little boys where the thing brags about binding their chest and for girls, obviously, and being tuck friendly for boys. And you're equating that to say they're coming after women, Jewish people, Asians, and black people next. Are you out of your freaking mind?
It's a horrific equivocation, and it's something that I've come to expect from the left. But every time they do it, it just hits me exactly. I guess exactly as is intended. To I don't know. I'm tired of it. I'll say it this way. Yeah. I'm tired of the equivocation. You know, there are a lot of black folks who don't like this trans stuff. So trying to equate being anti-trans stuff as being anti-black is disingenuous and a horrific equivocation. And I stop trying to legitimize your idiocy and stupidity and left-wing ideology with the civil rights struggle of black people. I'm really tired of that equivocation.
Yeah, see that's I'm glad you said that. I was going to ask you about that anyway, not to
Sure.
Not to put the whole, racial thing, as the front and center, but Gavin Newsom brought it up. So basically the argument is you're anti-trans, you don't like Dylan Mulvaney. Well, clearly, Gabe, how could you possibly feel that way? I mean, you're black.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't stand, I couldn't stand it when they tried to make any portion of the LGBT rights, quote unquote, movement sort of tied to the civil rights movement in the 60s. Every equivocation that they make is like, oh, well, homosexuals are just like blacks. It's like, no. How about that? No. Let me say it again. No. It's not the same. And trying to gain legitimacy of every single aspect of their societal movements by glomming onto the one legitimate and successful one in my mind, which was the 60s civil rights movement, is disingenuous. It's power hungry. It's illegitimate, and I can't stand every time I hear it. And I'm probably gonna get a little bit more vocal, a little bit more mean about it the more they do it.
Yeah. So you got a YouTube channel or anything?
Yeah, I got a YouTube channel. Now, I try to keep it a little lighter on my YouTube channel these days. I'm trying to stick to entertainment since I get all of my my good politics out right here. I don't want to, repeat the same ground here. But yeah, I mean, if and when they do that stuff through entertainment, which they do, you better believe I'm going to be talking about it on my YouTube channel.
Okay, so
St. John the Philosopher on YouTube.
Yes, last couple minutes here. I actually got it, and Stell sent this to us, texted to us last night, but another friend of mine, this one from D.C., said, did you see this thing with the North Face? And the North Face, of course, like in the camping equipment, outdoorsy type stuff, but they're a very left-wingy type thing. But
yeah, they've always been.
Yeah, their left-wingy stuff has kind of been environmental stuff in the past.
Generally speaking, that's kind of where their niche has been, yeah.
But they're doing this whole intersectionality thing. The video that was sent is with a drag queen dude basically having a come out, ... to the outdoors, and it was a bunch of gay innuendo and stuff like that. The thing was so poorly produced. I mean, it looks like they spent $10 on the video. I honestly thought it was a spoof or a parody. I'm like, no, that wasn't done by the North Face, because I mean they would put some production value in it. But it turns out it actually was.
they shot it on somebody's iPhone 4.
Probably. Yeah. Right. So they've got this drag queen. He goes by the name Patty Gonia. Get it? Yeah. And it's part of their Summer of Pride outdoor events. And this is one of those things where okay, he's a grown up. He's not claiming that he's actually female. He's just a weirdo.
Yeah.
Okay. And if a company wants to put the weirdo on there and he's in these big platform heels and he's dancing around outside, whatever. I don't buy North Face stuff anyway, but I don't care. However, they've announced their Pride line of children's clothing as part of this.
And there it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Why do they keep coming after the kids? You know, I gotta wonder. You
Yeah.
gotta ask the question: why do they keep going after the kids? It used to be, and still, you mentioned this not too long ago. It used to be, well, I just want to live the way I want to live. I want people to leave me alone. I want to be able to go about my life like anybody else. And in many,
we were fine with that.
In many
Yeah.
instances, that was a valid argument. And we just said, okay, fine. Just don't be too weird. It's like that was pretty much what we. It's like, just don't be too weird about it. I mean. But no, it's not as though we have to live and let live anymore. They won't. They say, you know, they basically put their crotch in your face and say, acknowledge me, and that's pretty much what they're doing.
Affirm me.
Yeah. And then even beyond that, beyond the rainbow flag logos everywhere and Pride Month, and it's going to Pride season. It's pretty much it's going to be Pride every year, all year. Now it's and your kids too.
Yeah.
And that's where we have to say, no. We're done.
And the fact that they deny it, I'm sorry,
Oh,
I was just going to say, the fact that they deny it makes it even more irritating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what? You're teaching your little boy that he has to be a man when he grows up? You bigot.
Ugh, it's crazy talk.
And then they wonder why there's backlash on this. And when you see the headlines and see the op-eds that are coming out from the big, mainstream legacy media sources, they're getting more desperate. It's the equivalent of somebody swinging wildly while they're going down.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which tells me that culturally the right side of this is winning. I've mentioned before that, my wife, who's a political and economic philosopher by trade, she truly believes that we could look back at this gender confusion, gender ideology, so-called trans stuff years down the road, the same way that we look back at eugenics right now and just say, what were we thinking as a society?
Absolutely. And
I hope she's right.
And when you look at the actual butchery, if you look if you've seen any of the pictures of the was it vaginoplasty or
double mastectomies,
was it the one where they tried to construct a fake member for
I don't know
women who
called,
were like a phalloplasty or something. Phalloplasty, that's what they call it. Any of the results of those things. And it's horrific to look at, but I think you have to see it. You have to understand what sort of butchery that we're talking about here. And we're going to look back at that as something horrific.
And they're not debating. They don't want to debate it on the face of the ideas. They
No.
want to lie. I saw one this morning where it was a headline like about the backlash against the trans and stuff like that. And it said, conservatives are angry about gender affirming surgeries on children, which never happens. It doesn't happen. Yeah, it does. That's just a bold-faced lie.
It is a
does.
lie.
We had Chloe Cole on this show who had a double mastectomy when she was like 14. It does happen.
We got pictures.
Yeah, we know that it happens, so that's just a lie.
There's video available from Boston Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
Stuff that I saw a couple of years ago that just made me sick.
And people celebrating it right now with pictures.
Yeah.
It's like, well, of course it's true.
Yeah. All right, 314-912-1019. Just ahead, Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign kind of stumbles out of the blocks, not because of anything he did or said or his content, technical difficulties, but now he's up and running on the campaign. We'll get the reaction to that just ahead right here on 1019 941 News Talk STL.
What's love got to do with it? Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken? It may seem
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
if I tend to look dazed. I read it someplace. I've got cause to be.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Nice and mild this morning and dry with lower humidity and mild temperatures. A beautiful start to the day. We'll see a mix of clouds and sun with lots of sun at times and the high temperature about 79 degrees, but lower humidity today. Even better tomorrow. Full on sunshine. Lows in the low 50s in the morning and Friday's high in the mid to upper 70s. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Well, folks, spring has definitely sprung here in the Heartland. Great time to get Hanson's Tree Service out to your home or business to spruce up and take care of all your landscaping needs. Tim Jones here for Hanson's Tree Service. You can find them 24/7 at hansonstree.com. What are we talking about here? Organic mulch. Hanson's has beautiful organic mulch for all of your landscape beds. They can also take care of all your tree trimming and pruning services. Let Hanson's take care of all that stuff before our crazy spring storms take care of it for you. Give them a call anytime, 636-379-1830, Hanson'sTree.com, Hanson'sTree.com.
Seidenstricker Nobe Partners has the equipment you need to get the job done at our Buy Green, Save Green sales event. For May only, save up to $2,500 on in-stock 5E John Deere tractors with 0% financing, or a new 1 through 4 Series compact tractor package with a mower and a loader for as low as $197 a month. Visit snpartners.com for more information. Seidenstricker Nobe, your partner for the land.
Offer valid through 5/26/2023. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
This is a scary time when it comes to your money, especially if buying a home. That's why you need Homestead Financial Mortgage. I know the owners, met the team. You can trust Homestead will be with you every step of the way. Call 24/7 with any question or concern. Homestead is on your schedule, not banker's hours. This is not just about buying a home. It's about trust. You can go to my website, larry.homesteadfinancial.com. larry.homesteadfinancial.com.
Larry Connors, USA.
And I'm against it. I'll fight it every step of the way, and so should you. And the parents who send their kids to this private school, we need to have a come-to-Jesus meeting.
Larry Connors, weeknights at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Tune in to us at 8 p.m. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Prisoner of your love, entangled in your web. Hot whispers in the night. I'm captured by your spell. Captured. Oh yes, I'm touched by this show of emotion. Should I be fractured by
Stell's looking at me like, are you going to talk? I'm like, no.
No. You're not supposed to talk over this part.
Tina Turner singing.
What a showman. I mean, just that entire sequence.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you heard a range of emotions, a range of techniques that she was using in her vocalizations. Just masterclass.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So 650. What was your favorite Tina Turner song? Or two? Because, I mean, can you really narrow it down?
Yeah,
I mean, this would be in my top 5 easy of Tina Turner songs. But then again, I'm going to gravitate towards the 80s.
Yes, same.
Tina Turner
Same.
type stuff. But, yeah, so 650. I mean, and we don't do a lot of celebrity stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
But Tina Turner, she began her musical career and her artistic career in St. Louis.
Yeah.
She's a Sumner High School graduate. She
Wow.
She moved here when she was a teenager and
Mhm.
launched her career out of St. Louis.
Right.
Both sides of the state line, including a lot of the clubs that used to be on the east side. They're not quite the same over there on the east side these days. Just
Yeah,
saying.
I know. A little different.
But a little bit different. But yeah, Tina Turner, we can legitimately claim her as one of our own here from St. Louis. All right, 314-912-1019. Ron DeSantis gambled on Twitter to launch his campaign. It did not go well. Not because of the content per se, not because of necessarily anything that DeSantis did, but because Twitter crashed. So you didn't get to hear the content, at least for quite a while. So we'll get to that in just a second. By the way, Missouri Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe going to be with us 1 hour from right now. You know, in the race for governor of Missouri, we have heard recently from Bill Eigel. We talked to him on Monday. We talked to Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft last week. So Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe going to be with us in a little bit here on the show. Okay, Ron DeSantis' campaign officially underway, and it started with a version of "Please stand by due to technical difficulties."
Boo! You remember that? The test
they got
signal and the
color bars.
The color bars.
Yeah. So, and this is
snow.
Yeah.
You kids don't know anything about that.
No, they don't. They don't. I used to be the guy that actually put up the color bars in the snow or took them down in my first TV job.
Oh, wow.
I was a master control operator back when you manually went on and off the air. That was like my first job in television back in like 1992 or something like that.
That was a George Jetson push the button job,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Now it's all computerized.
Jeez, I made a George Jetson
I know,
reference.
yeah.
You kids don't know anything about that either,
No,
do you?
they don't. They don't.
Dang it!
So with Ron DeSantis, he had this expansive conversation with Elon Musk. Hundreds of thousands of people tried to tune in. Twitter crashed, or
Mhm.
whatever the thing was that they were doing the audio on crashed. They got it back up after a while. They didn't have as many people on by that time, so they lost hundreds of thousands of people
at first.
But he had a backup plan, and then he went on to Fox News for Fox News Tonight, which Trey Gowdy was guest hosting. And so he was asked about every issue you could possibly be asked about yesterday. So he covered a lot of ground, but still, the campaign got off to an inauspicious start.
Bit of a stumble.
Not his fault, but it is what it is at this point. So he was asked, among other things, about kind of the battle, because Florida has become ground zero over the argument over curriculum and woke ideology. And I think this is one of the things that you're going to see Ron DeSantis resonate on with voters more so than the other candidates, because Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, Donald Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, they're all talking about the woke ideology and the indoctrination in the classrooms. The difference is that Ron DeSantis is in a position to where in Florida, they went after it legislatively and they passed laws and they've defended them for the most part successfully in court. So he was asked about that, and this would have been from Fox last night with his conversation with Trey Gowdy.
The whole book ban thing is a hoax. There's not been a single book banned in the state of Florida. You can go buy or use whatever book you want. What we have done is empowered parents with the ability to review the curriculum, to know what books are being used in school, and then to ensure that those books match state standards and are age and developmentally appropriate.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right about it being a hoax. There's not been a single book banned anywhere, but there are school districts that have said, yeah, maybe we shouldn't put, I don't know, child pornography in the libraries. And so that's, of course, what the ACLUs and the Tony Messengers of the world and all of them, claim. Book burning. They're dragging the witches out in Salem again,
It's so stupid. I mean, think about it this way. In our public libraries, there's a little magazine section.
Yeah.
Imagine the Playboy, Hustler, those started showing up in your libraries and in the kids section. Right next to the Highlights magazine. Okay, you remember? Highlights.
I remember Highlights. Yeah, I always saw them at the doctor's office.
Exactly. So you got your Highlights magazine. You got your I don't know, Nintendo Power, whatever the kids are reading these days.
Ranger Rick.
Ranger Rick. Exactly. And then you got your Playboys and your Hustlers and all these other magazines sitting up on the shelf. And somebody says, those shouldn't be there. And the librarian comes at you and says, "Are you trying to ban these books?"
Yeah.
Yes. How about that? Yes. From this section, yes.
Yeah, put them in, like in Missouri as well. The Librarians Society or whatever the association is, they're angry because, state lawmakers said that type of material really should be in a section that's away from kids, and parents need to sign off if your kids are going to look at it. That's really all they said. And if you can't do that, we're going to cut your funding if you're that intent on making sure that minors have access to this type of material. They're not saying you can't even have it. That's for local library boards to decide. And that's what DeSantis has taken and kind of elevated in Florida at a level that other states really haven't. Again, he's not really different on the issue than the other Republican candidates, but he can actually say, look what we did.
Yeah, I mean, it does present sort of a different profile here. You've got basically the policymakers who are discussing things, and then you have a combat veteran, who says, yeah, I've been fighting in this culture war. I'm just back from the front lines. I got my bloody spear, essentially. It's like, oh, yeah, let me tell you about the culture war. So, I mean, it's different coming from somebody who's really in the midst of fighting it versus someone who theoretically would fight it if they were on the front lines, but they just aren't. I mean, it's just the nature of the business right now. Like they've gone away from their public responsibilities for a little while, so they don't have that cred to stand on right now in the public space as it is right now. So he's taking advantage of that, and as he should.
The latest issue that they've had down there, and I think you guys have heard about this, there was a book in the grade school libraries that included a poem from the Biden inauguration,
right?
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
And that was moved to the middle school library. Well, the narrative from the left said it was banned from the schools. No, it was just moved from the grade school library to the middle school library.
Here's the tactic I think that's happening on that, because that was I forgot the young poet's name where she spoke at the Biden inauguration.
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember seeing something about her. Yeah.
So what's happening is the left is either waiting for kind of the loonies on our side to challenge anything that deals with race. And there's a few weirdos out there on our side that do that. And they're waiting and hoping that happens and go, aha! Or what's happening is they're putting their own side up to it saying, listen, challenge anything and everything so we can claim that under this law, books are being banned.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what's happening. And the media isn't even falling for it. They're complicit in it, and they're co-conspirators in it.
Well, it's pretty standard for the left. Is if you can't find the thing that you want to find so you can scream at it, you manufacture it.
Yeah. And, of course, the whole woke ideology was brought up as well on that conversation with Trey Gowdy on Fox last night.
We will, as president, lean in against woke ideology and against the sexualization of children. It's wrong, Trey, what they're trying to do to these kids. We're not going to abide by it. And in Florida, we say we're the state where woke goes to die. You know, as president, I'm going to make sure woke ideology ends up in the dustbin of history.
So part of that, you may say, is, he's using the bully pulpit for cultural war. And I guess to some degree that'd be correct. That would be a fair, and I mean this in the denotative sense of the word, a fair critique of it. But the woke ideology and the culture war is infecting so many other aspects of our lives, from the academy to K through 12 education to sports to the way that government operates and discriminates against people. And so it is part of what the next president, whoever that's going to be, has to deal with. And that's why we got to make sure that if Ron DeSantis is your guy, great. If Donald Trump's your guy, okay. If it's Tim Scott, if it's Nikki, whoever it is, they'd better be willing to fight back against the culture wars that the left has started. And the left started this round of the culture wars. So, that's what DeSantis is bringing up. He's being asked about it a lot because he's been successful in it, and he's done it in a way that does not restrict anybody's freedom. That's what the media keeps forgetting.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Now, there may be a few little things in some of those laws that I might disagree with. But
he went a little too far in a couple areas that the legislature did, and he signed on to it. So he's not perfect like any of the other candidates. I mean, there's plenty to discuss with all of them. But, he's
been very effective.
Yeah, if he said you're not allowed to buy or have this book in the state, I'd say, yeah, he's banning books, but that's not what he did. Yep. All right, just ahead here, the stylings of Tina Turner launched her career right here in St. Louis. I know next time I'm on the Loop, I'm going to make it a point to look for that star because I kind of walk over him, as much as I'm out there. 314-912-1019. Your favorite Tina Turner memory, your favorite Tina Turner song. It's going to be hard to narrow it down, but let's wrap up the hour by doing that. And then we're talking about fighting back against the wokeness and the ideology in schools. That's at 7:05. But first, Tina, take it away.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is 101.9 and 94.1.
Female millennial Trump supporter. I listen to it like every day. Like, seriously, you get it.
News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic, and I'm here with Kathy Connor at Connor Roofing. Kathy, what makes Connor Roofing different?
Hey, Vic. I'm glad that you asked. I think that what really sets Connor Roofing apart is our relationship with our customers. It's very important to us to develop that trust with the homeowner. This is what has allowed us to serve our friends and our neighbors in the St. Louis area for 30 years. Whether we are doing a roof or a gutter repair or even a full replacement, you can count on Connor for quality service and workmanship.
Thanks, Kathy. To find out more, visit them at connorroofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
Stories of New Americans.
Hi, this is Ron Clutho. Join me this weekend for Stories of New Americans, where you'll hear fascinating and inspirational personal stories of people from all over the globe who now call St. Louis home. We'll take a look at the U.S. through newcomers' eyes and get insight into world history and culture, and maybe just learn a little bit more about ourselves.
Stories of New Americans with Ron Clutho. Saturday nights at 10 on News Talk STL.
Attorney Joe Cordell. Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood Parkway, Suite 310, Town & Country, Missouri, 63017. CordellCordell.com.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 nerve care company. Nervive tablets contain alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, plus B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com. And try Nervive Pain Relieving Cream to block nerve pain signals at the source. Use as directed.
I miss the good old days when America's CIA was only interested in affecting the selection of leaders overseas.
News, analysis, opinion.
Not here in our country.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
You know, every now and then, I think you might like to hear something from us. Nice, easy. But there's just one thing. You see, we never, ever do nothing. Nice, easy. We always do it nice and rough. But we're going to take the beginning of this song and do it easy. But then we're going to do the finish. Rough. It's the way we do. Proud Mary. And we're rolling, ooh, rolling, ooh, rolling on the river. Listen to the story.
All right, yeah, this is my favorite. Just had to remind me just a little bit. I was like, it's near the top. Is it the top? Because I really like, We Don't Need Another Hero. I really like Simply the Best, but this one, man.
Oh
my gosh.
The soul is just kind of oozing
It's just
through
pouring
your
out.
speakers right now.
And I want to hear the rest now.
Oh, man.
Dang it.
But here's the thing. If you walked up to Tina Turner and said, hey, Tina, where'd you go to school? She'd have an answer.
Yeah, where'd you go to high school?
Tina Turner's iconic career went through St. Louis.
The classic St. Louis question,
Oh, yeah.
and she could answer it.
She could answer it. 6:53 right now. I'm Mike. That's Gabe. That's Estelle. By the way, despite the left's panicking and best efforts, school choice is growing around the country. We've got an update for you at 7:05. Okay, if you were asked about Ann Bullock.
Whoops.
Tell me about Ann Bullock, and you're going to say, I don't know who that is. But if you say Tina Turner, oh, yeah, 1958, Sumner graduate. The legendary Tina Turner passes away yesterday at the age of 83. She began her musical career and her kind of artistic career in St. Louis, moved to the area when she was 15 or 16 years old, graduated, like I said, from Sumner High School in 1958, started performing in St. Louis on both sides of the state line. The East Side back then was a lot more of a music club type of thing. Now they're different kind of club.
Yeah.
But it was a music scene back then. And so she really launched out of St. Louis and launched internationally. She's one of the few international superstars. She was 83 years old. She died in Switzerland, where she'd lived for many years.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, see, I did know some of these big, massive stars actually go to Switzerland. Shania Twain lives there and a few others, partly because they could kind of be sheltered from the paparazzi and everything. Because Switzerland, a lot of times they won't play their music on the radio or TV there, kind of give them some shelter out there. I don't know why they do that. But yeah, she'd been there for a long time. But Tina Turner is one of those few truly international superstars. And if you walk up and down the Del Mar Loop in U City, you can see her star there. So I mean, we truly have a legitimate claim to her as a St. Louisan, even if it was just for a few years.
You know, I'm going to say something here that's a little historical, but folks who are younger than 30 may not realize this. When I came from Chicago in 1970, I knew nothing about Sumner, Beaumont, and the other public high schools that were in the city. They were strong schools. But the Public High School League here in St. Louis was dominant. There were some great schools there. And then due to segregation and everything else that happened, the desegregation movement, the busing stuff, it wound up killing a lot of the schools in the different neighborhoods. But when I came here, I had no idea, and I had to learn about the history of Sumner and Beaumont and the other great schools that were in the city. A lot of great football and basketball teams that came out of those schools. A lot of great players, some of whom I played with a little bit at SLU. So I look back on that and realize there's a lot of great history in that school system, which is gone.
There used to be a very thriving arts scene.
Yes.
You know, a lot of artists and musicians, including Tina Turner, came out of the area. And so if you had to say, what's your favorite Tina Turner song? Hard to do. Hard to do. Gabe, sounds like you settled on
Yeah, I settled. That,
Proud Mary?
Still got me.
Still, if you had to pick one or two.
To be honest with you, probably What's Love Got to Do with It?
Yeah.
And I would say maybe Better Be Good to Me, those two.
Oh, yeah, Better
See,
Be Good to Me.
I'm
I forgot about
I'm
that.
going to gravitate to the 80s stuff.
Yes.
But Tina Turner, when she kind of became a superstar with my generation, I was born in 1971. So in my generation, I'm in high school in the 80s. The golden era of MTV. There's Tina Turner. We'd never heard of her before. And then we go back and discover the stuff from the 70s, and we discover some of the stuff from the 60s as well. And that's where her legend kind of grew with us. I would say, even though it's very poppy, it's very cheesy, I would say probably You're Simply the Best is probably my favorite Tina Turner song. I love Proud Mary as well. But, man, I don't know. And I know this is probably not what I'm supposed to say, being the, heavy metal masculine kind of dude that I am, but Private Dancer is just a really sultry, sexy
It's a
song.
sexy song.
That's an awesome
It really
song.
is.
It's like,
And so many of those were in the sweet spot of her career, like you said,
yeah.
in the 80s and early 90s, especially the 80s. Tons of hits.
All right, so let me know, what is your favorite Tina Turner song? We can kind of read those throughout the day. Got a Tina Turner memory. All right, just ahead here, school choice, parental empowerment, pushing back against the indoctrination and the sexualization of your kids. There is movement happening around the country, and it's moving the right direction, believe it or not. We'll talk about that at 7:05.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Never paint again. This is Darren, owner of Rhino Shield. Want to eliminate painting your home, business, or church? Call the experts at Rhino Shield. Rhino Shield is a revolutionary ceramic wall coating to regular paint and vinyl. Perfect for aluminum, steel, unpainted brick, block, stucco, EIFS, drive-it, cement board, and wood sidings. Rhino Shield eliminates wasting time and money painting year after year. Our ceramic coating deflects 90% of the sun's UV rays and 100% of the moisture. Our clients want affordable protection with the elimination of maintenance. Rhino Shield protects your biggest investment while maintaining your architectural features and gives you the curb appeal you deserve. Make your home great again by working with the Rhino Shield experts. A+ rated with the BBB. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s.
I should have been a cowboy.
Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks.
Let's go, girls.
Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at ClassicKicks.com.
I'll go back.
Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa.
I love this station.
90s New Country streaming now. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. He's in the race. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis joining the other runners on the road to the Republican presidential nomination. Former President Trump, the current frontrunner, and correspondent Will Weissert says DeSantis is facing a big challenge in trying to catch up.
The big question with DeSantis is whether or not he's really
electable. He tends to not be quite as charismatic, and he's trying to run a very populist campaign similar to Trump. The problem is that he doesn't sort of cut the same stage figure and stage presence that Trump often does. In the meantime, he's raised a lot of money. There's a lot of buzz around his campaign, and he does not have the legal baggage that former President Trump does.
Among his priorities, DeSantis lists fixing the economy, restoring energy independence, and defeating the woke agenda. The Trump camp notes that DeSantis lacks presidential experience. DeSantis announced his campaign last evening on Twitter. A national security warning about a leading American geopolitical foe.
Microsoft says state-backed Chinese hackers have been targeting U.S. critical infrastructure and could be laying the technical groundwork for the potential disruption of communications between the U.S. and Asia in future crises. The targets include Guam, where U.S. has a major military presence. Separately, U.S. security agencies and their counterparts from Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and Britain published a joint advisory sharing technical details on what they called the recently discovered cluster of activity. Keith Peters reporting.
Russia and Belarus have signed a deal formalizing the procedure for deploying Russian nuclear weapons in Belarus, control of the weapons to remain with Moscow. President Biden's using the anniversary of the Uvalde, Texas school shootings to call for more gun control laws, and there's still no deal on raising the debt ceiling. Watching Wall Street, Dow futures down 97 points, NASDAQ futures 270 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Miss Prager here. Sue and I mean it when we say dogs are part of our family, and there's nothing like their loyal companionship. So we provide them with Rough Greens, R-U-F-F, because we want them to feel healthy and be with us as long as possible. I know Charlie Kirk feels the same way.
The Pragers and I couldn't agree more. I rely on my trusted furry friend, Mr. Briggs, who's an absolute machine, and he relies on me to provide what's best for him. Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black has packed Rough Greens, not a dog food, but a supplement full of vitamins, minerals, digestive enzymes, and omega oils that Mr. Briggs absolutely needs and loves. Trying Rough Greens for your dog just makes sense.
Greetings, Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here. I'm honored that the Pragers and Charlie trust their dog's health to Rough Green. I'm so confident that Rough Green can help your dog too that I'm offering you a free Jumpstart trial bag. Just cover the shipping. Yes, dog food is dead food, but it doesn't have to be. Go to ruffgreens.com.
5. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Nice and mild this morning and dry with lower humidity and mild temperatures. A beautiful start to the day. We'll see a mix of clouds and sun with lots of sun at times and the high temperature about 79 degrees, but lower humidity today. Even better tomorrow. Full-on sunshine. Lows in the low 50s in the morning and Friday's high in the mid to upper 70s. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote and accelerate the development of quality Christ-centered K-12 education.
Hi, this is Daryl Jones, president of the Herzog Foundation. Our primary goal is to advance Christian education so that families and culture flourish. The legacy of Stan's business career centers around making national transit ecosystems accessible and sustainable. Likewise, the legacy of Stan's philanthropy centers around making the ecosystems of Christian education more accessible and sustainable for families across the nation. Visit HerzogFoundation.com to learn more about our programs, including trainings, scholarships, conferences, news, and our podcast, Making the Leap.
Visit HerzogFoundation.com to learn more and sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. HerzogFoundation.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare you!
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice
Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
You know, it's one thing to point out all the horrible ideologies being pushed on kids through education, and we will continue to do that as we find out where the rats are. We'll try to smoke them out, but let's actually assess the momentum, because it's not time to lose hope yet. We're going to find out that there is hope, that things are moving in the right direction. It is coming up on 7:06 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Gabe Pfeiffer here. Got Stel Ponticus here. By the way, at 7:35, Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe going to be with us. We're going to get his assessment of the recent legislative session, such as it was. And also get his thoughts on what needs to be prioritized in the next legislative session. He's running for governor, so let's find out what he thinks the next face of leadership should be and what challenges they're going to have to deal with, whether it's him or whether it's Jay Ashcroft or Bill Eigel or somebody else. But that conversation happens at 7:35. Okay, when we talk about what's happening in education, a lot of times we end up navigating towards this gender confusion, this gender ideology, protecting things like girls and women's sports. And I've heard criticism to say, listen, education happens in the classroom, and you guys are just focused on this this little thing that's really not a big problem. But it is a big problem because it's infecting every aspect of public education, and in some cases, private education as well. That's why parental empowerment is the key solution right now. We've been telling you about the Lion from the Herzog Foundation for months now. That's their newsletter, and you can learn more at readlion.com. I subscribe to it. I get it every week. It's free. You should check it out. There's a lot of really great material in there. The managing editor of that is Josh Mann, who joins us right now. And Josh, appreciate you being on the program. But before we get into some of these specific issues, I think a lot of people want to separate out what I think still a majority of the country and a majority of the culture says this is disgusting, and they want to separate that out from other aspects of education when in reality you just can't. If you've got an awful ideology in one part of education, it bleeds over into every other aspect of it. Or do you see that differently?
No, you're absolutely right. We see this kind of, it's related to DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and there's this ideology that says, basically children can choose what gender they are, and we need to be very accepting. And so there's a lot of pressure right now against saying anything against it. Otherwise, you're considered a bully, you're bigoted, you're all of these things. And yet, when we look at the polling, you're right, a majority of Americans are concerned about the gender issue, and especially fairness in girls' sports, bathrooms. If a student identifies as a gender other than their biological sex, what limitations do you place on them? And it's a very small number of students in that category, and yet we're seeing kind of draconian policies that blanket school districts and sports. And fortunately, in Missouri, the legislature did pass a bill, two big bills on these things. One to restrict the treatments for minors, but also sports participation. But other states like California, we've just seen in their state championship track meet is next week, and there are two biological males who will be competing against girls in the 1,600-meter run. And when you look at what the parents are saying, even parents who aren't all that conservative, they're just saying, look, this is unfair to our girls who work really hard. And we can't say anything because the state association considers it bullying, and that would disqualify their girls from competing. So not only are they facing unfair competition, but they can't even really talk about it, or they'll be disqualified.
Good morning, Josh. Gabe Pfeiffer here, and that's one of the areas where I'm particularly concerned. Having had a student athlete, a female student athlete, go through college, playing playing volleyball. The stories that Riley Gaines, let's say, has shared with us about basically a fully intact male, as she says, coming into the locker room and undressing and being with the girls as they are undressing. It sparks a very visceral reaction out of me, and I wonder where other parents are with this. I mean, obviously they would be risking sanction by the various bodies by saying or doing anything, but I got to think that at some point you kind of have to draw the line. I'm just wondering where are the parents on this, and is there something that they can do to safeguard their girls?
Yeah, I mean, the polling that I see does suggest a majority thinks that there needs to be some kind of limitation. There's got to be something. So that's one thing. So parents should know that they're not alone. Parents who are concerned should know that, they've got a majority. I think there's kind of a political correctness environment where even there's kind of a silent majority. And so sometimes there's a lack of confidence in speaking out. Parents should talk to their school boards. In K to 12, if it's higher education, you can talk to your higher ed administration and things, but there's also governing bodies that are getting pressure. Look up Riley Gaines. Look at some of the organizations she's involved with. She's pushing hard. She's trying to get other athletes to speak up, and some are. I think there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear of pushback, of being labeled bigoted, but it's really not about that at all. It's about fairness and integrity. So I would encourage parents to speak up, let their opinion be heard, and especially on the K to 12 level, they need to be talking to their school board. Other kinds of grassroots movements might help, like a petition, a local petition, things like that. Talk to your state association. Especially on the left, a lot of those politicians and leaders are trying to defer to the state association, kind of kick the can down the road and not deal with it. So, the state associations might also be the place to look to.
Hey, I want to follow up on that part. You talked about some parents saying we'd be sanctioned if we or our daughters spoke up about the fairness. K through 12 education is a government institution. Are we into First Amendment free speech territory here?
Yeah, I think that's a huge concern. And we're seeing a lot of this kind of clamping down on religious speech in schools. And, the left especially likes to parade out separation of church and state and other kind of slogans that usually end up in a court, and usually First Amendment rights are upheld. There's a lot of pressure there to not speak out. But, in the case in California, where you've got high school girls who basically have no choice but to compete against a biological boy, and they can't even say it's unfair. They can't even voice their opinion. That's a big problem. We're also seeing, through COVID, when we've seen this parents' rights movement boil up, and we saw parents go to school board meetings, and it's continuing to happen. They're voicing their opinion. School board meetings, I think, have never been longer than they are right now, because so many parents are showing up and they want to speak. And yet we've seen school boards implement policies to try to shut down some parents, or try to limit how much they can talk about or what they can talk about. So there's a huge free speech issue going on in education. And then, of course, for those wanting to express their religious faith in any way, there's a lot of issues with that. And in fact, the Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education, just issued some guidance here around graduation time, warning schools and teachers about making sure prayer is only private, don't invite students to participate. But critics saw that as kind of a clamp down on freedom of religion and freedom of speech from the Biden administration.
Good morning, Josh. This is Stal Ponticus. I want to go back a couple of years really quick, because when this all began, this pushback and this bizarre stuff started going on, there was a situation in Connecticut where a group of girls lost out to boys in track and field events, and they wound up losing their scholarships because these boys placed second and third The girls who placed 4th, 5th, and on down wound up losing scholarship opportunities, and they filed suit, and I believe they lost their suit. And to me, that says we've got a problem in the judicial system. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and oftentimes that's kind of the last opportunity to win these things or to make some kind of change. And so when those court cases go that direction, there's little else. I mean, they can file an appeal, but at that point, with the legal expenses, it's hard to do. And there are certainly there are some organizations, that are willing to support families in that situation, legal organizations, ADF, for example, and others. But on the other side, the left have a number of organizations who are really willing to bring lawsuits or fund legal firepower, to make those cases go their direction. So it's tough. And, the only thing we can do is as parents and as those who are concerned is talk to your legislators, talk to your school boards, talk to your officials, let your voice be heard. And then when it gets into the legal system, you've got to fight. And when it goes the wrong way, there's little else we can do.
All right, readlion.com is the Herzog Foundation's The Lion newsletter. I subscribe to it. You should too. It's free. Josh Mann is the managing editor. Josh, appreciate you being on the program. We're kind of up against a break here with our information segment, but I know that one thing you're watching real closely is parental empowerment and school choice and school freedom. Disappointed in what happened in Missouri, but around the country, it seems like we do have some momentum. And is the fact that it's parental empowerment based giving us some gains that maybe we haven't seen in past years? Because this aspect of school choice isn't new, but it seems like we are seeing new empowerment and new movement.
Yeah, if you give families a choice to take their kid to any school they want or to a school other than their locally zoned public school, you're immediately introducing competition. You're putting pressure on those schools to do what the parents want, and that's going to help all the issues we just talked about. Nebraska just passed one that's very much like Missouri's, the one we already have. Oklahoma recently passed. Texas and North Carolina are wrangling about it. So it's happening all over. I think it's a good thing for families, and it will help public schools listen better, I think, to parents, because those public schools also want to educate those kids. But what can be wrong with giving families choice?
All right, Josh, appreciate you being on the show. Good to talk to you.
Yep, thanks so much.
All right, 314-912-1019. Just ahead here, right around 7:21, the Ron DeSantis campaign officially underway for President of the United States. A little glitchy, but it got underway nonetheless. What's your take on his entrance into the race? We'll discuss that just ahead right here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Then at 7:35, Missouri Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe.
They learn to rely and judge on his responses, having faith for making gains.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You get the point with this? Like, they've done this before?
Bongino.
We had the IRS targeting case where they actually admitted to it. I love when lefties try to pretend that didn't happen. The targeting of the Tea Party and conservative groups.
Weekdays at 11 on News Talk STL.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here, excited to tell you about one of our newest clients. I've been a customer of them for years, Professional Irrigation Systems. If you're tired of dragging hoses around your yard to keep your grass alive every summer, now's the time to make your life easier. Residential irrigation installs in one day, custom designed for your property. They will enhance your curb appeal. They've also got landscape lightings, makes the architecture of your home stand out, making all your neighbors envious. Fertilization packages as well for all your lawn care needs and great financing options. ProIrrigation.com, 636-692-4441. ProIrrigation.com.
Hey, Columbo here for the great team at All Solutions Pest Control. We've been using pest control services at our home for years, and the results we've had with All Solutions are second to none. So if you're experiencing a pest problem, or more importantly, want to prevent a problem, All Solutions Pest Control are the ones to call. Right now, you can take advantage of their incredible $67 introductory offer. Learn more and contact them now at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Can Kamala meet?
The government should not be telling her what to do with our body.
Wait a minute. She said, what did she say there?
The government should not tell us what to do.
With our bodies.
Huh. What about El Jabbo?
And masking
and
mandates.
Sure, I did a little Spanish lingo there.
Yeah, I thought it was nice.
El Jabbo. My Russians, a little Spanish lingo there for you. El Jabbo.
Vic Porcelli, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hi, Jen Wallner here. As a former foster child myself, I have always been an advocate for foster children in our community. Angels Arms is an amazing organization that provides a stable, nurturing, and loving family environment for these children. They ensure these children have not only the childhood they deserve, but the resources needed to become successful, thriving adults. I truly believe that this organization is transforming lives, and I could not be more proud to be a small part of that accomplishment. For more information or to get involved, visit angelsarms.org.
Fox News commentary.
Hillary Clinton takes a swipe at Sleepy Joe's age. That woman will never pass up an opportunity for a headline. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Inflation is nothing more than legalized theft. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and to preserve your wealth, I highly recommend keeping physical gold in your retirement account. To learn more, text the word SHELTER to 989898 to get a free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold, which is the only gold IRA company I trust. So text SHELTER to 989898 to request your free info kit right now.
Biden is old, and he is slipping, figuratively and literally. You know it, I know it, anyone who listens to him knows it. And apparently, so does Hillary Clinton. In an interview this week, she said people have every right to consider Joe's age and that it is indeed an issue. Look, we didn't need crooked Hillary to give us permission, but her comment is telling and also right on brand for her. She acts like she's this ride or die Democrat, but don't be fooled. If she sees an opportunity to throw a fellow Democrat under the bus, she will do it every time. I just hope she isn't plotting an election comeback tour. Even with Biden's cognitive, economic, and global failings, he is still preferable to Hillary Clinton. I think anyone is, maybe even Kamala. The Democrat bench is not in great shape and they know it. But as for Hillary, at age 75, she is no spring chicken either, but her manipulative and calculated antics are sharp as a tack. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
There's a pale moon in the sky. Can you make your wishes on? Oh.
So good.
I forgot about this one, too.
I know. All right, I'm watching the Rumble chat box. While we talk about everything else, what was your favorite Tina Turner song? Tina Turner passing away at the age of 83. Began her musical career, her performance career right here in St. Louis. All right, 7:24 right now. That's Gabe over there. That's Stell over there. I'm Mike. Not that you would know where I'm pointing because you're listening to me on the radio probably. Okay, so Ron DeSantis gambled on Twitter to launch his campaign last night.
It was a gamble.
Didn't go well. Didn't pay off immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But Gabe's been looking into the actual numbers on this, and there are actually some surprising numbers on this. But it didn't go well, not because of DeSantis or what he was saying per se, but because Twitter crashed.
Right.
And this happened with me. I went to listen to it last night right around 5 o'clock, and I looked it up, and I did the search, and I found it, and I clicked on Twitter, and I'm like, why can't I hear it? And then I realized something's down. Either my app is down, or I figured that Twitter was down, and that's what turned out to be the case. And so I turned it off, and I've been listening to parts of it today. And then Ron DeSantis went on Fox News for Fox News Tonight, which was being guest hosted by Trey Gowdy for kind of a long form interview there. So Twitter crashed, and there's a lot of DeSantis's opponents, particularly the Trump campaign. They're basically going after him, saying, "See, couldn't even manage that. He's not fit." Okay, that didn't have anything to do with Ron DeSantis. That's
right.
Listen, if you're a Trump supporter and you think Trump's a better candidate, fine.
Sure.
I mean, but that's the Trump folks are not telling the truth on that because it was a Twitter problem, not a DeSantis problem. DeSantis was the guest of the discussion with Elon Musk, which they did cover a lot of areas. So between that, because Gabe, you can go back and listen to it now.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can go back and listen and watch the conversation with Trey Gowdy a little bit later. I don't think there was a single major policy area or issue area, cultural area that wasn't touched between the two conversations.
I mean, it was a full hour recording. It's an hour and 7 minutes according to the little blurb here I've got on Twitter. 13 hours ago or so, Elon tweeted out the link to that discussion.
Okay.
And it has on it, you know, how these various things, they show the views or how many the count basically of how many people tried to access this thing. And at least 13 hours ago, it stands at 2.9 million people tried to tune in to this thing. And obviously that number is going to keep going up because there's a little link right there in that tweet from Elon that says play discussion now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it crashed at I think they said about 600,000 people.
Yeah.
And it crashed.
Right.
Because of the volume, which, listen, Twitter should have been ready for that.
I would think so.
This is a major presidential
so.
candidate. They should have anticipated that. So it crashed, and then they reset it, and then it went back up, and I think there were a couple 100,000 at the time. But I had no idea that many people, which means people are going back and searching to listen to it.
Yes.
Now, those are not all going to be Ron DeSantis supporters. Those are going to be people from across the spectrum of mostly the Republican Party, but across, I'm sure there's plenty of Democrats who are listening and curious as well. But that's a really big number. I mean, that's big.
Yeah, I think if you look at it in that way, the reach there. I mean, it's the same thing with the Tucker Carlson deal, right? People were like, "Oh, Tucker Carlson just threw up a little video on Twitter," and they kind of rolled their eyes at it. And then they looked at the number of views. They looked at the number of people who actually listened to what Tucker Carlson had to say. And it's like, wait a minute, he just beat his own show.
Yeah, his old time slot.
His old time slot. And I think in a lot of ways, and this happens. We kind of get stuck in a rut of what we think media is supposed to look like, and when it changes, we're often very, very surprised. I'm sure a lot of people were surprised at how big of a deal YouTube could be. Back in the day, any sort of online venue, social media could be back in the day when it was exclusively TV and radio, right? So, back in the 90s, with the Barack Obama social media blitz was something unheard of, but apparently it was very effective. I think this gamble by the DeSantis campaign was very much in line with that idea, and I'm looking at these numbers. I think that's a success. Now, again, they did stumble out of the gate.
It was clunky.
It was very clunky at first. Although, if you were to say that, make an equivalent to it being a venue of people trying to get into the venue, it's basically there was a giant crowd. They had to get security in to kind of get things settled before he could speak, and the thing didn't start until 20 minutes in. That's basically the equivalent. So many people wanted to be there that it caused a problem.
Can I say something regarding the stumble?
Yeah,
because this is what kind of caught me off guard. Because I'm sitting there in the parking lot at Ozark Land off of 44 and Highway 100, and I'm bringing it up on Twitter, and
nothing's happening.
And the goofy stuff's going on, and pictures of other people are coming up, and there's Elon's picture, and DeSantis, and I'm thinking, why is there no audio coming through? And then you hear the bleepy stuff in the background and the mumbling. And my first thought went to, you know what? Stumbling out of the blocks is not very good when you think back to Obama's 2004 speech when he came out guns a-blazing when he did his Democratic National Convention speech.
That one.
You know, that's the one that's locked in my mind. And obviously Trump coming down the escalator. Those were the two instances where, this is how it's kicking off on the right foot. And last night was rough.
Yeah, they made statements in those cases. Whereas, DeSantis had to kind of get back into gear and get going.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter whose fault it is, but it just the fact matter was it was just kind of a stumbling out of a gate thing.
Mm-hmm.
The content, was good. I wonder if we should, we're not picking sides or picking a winner if we put that link up if people want to hear it themselves. We put videos up that Trump puts out every once in a while, so maybe we can put that up.
I can share it.
Yeah, we can put that out there, and we'll do that with other candidates as well. Hopefully have the candidates on the show as well. So, the content was there. You just had to kind of fight to get it. But 2.9 million people and counting who have accessed it, that tells me there are people that want to hear what he has to say. Does that mean that he's suddenly the front runner? Of course not. Donald Trump's the front runner in this race. But I am telling you right now, the race is far, far from over. We're going to have a lot to talk about over the next 6, 8, 12 months, depending on how long it takes for the Republicans to settle in on a nominee.
And that's why stumbling out of the gate is not that big an issue. I agree with you because I looked at it as though, okay, this is, for lack of a better phrase, a marathon. I mean, you're running a mile race, and actually a 26-mile race by the time this thing's over. It's not a 100-yard dash. I just dated myself there. It's a 100-meter dash, I guess.
Now it's 100-meter, yeah.
So it's not a Usain Bolt thing where you stumble out of the blocks and you're going to lose the race. He's got plenty of time to recover, and I think he did, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, I think so, too. All right, just ahead here, Missouri Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe going to get his assessment of the legislative session. Also, let's look ahead. Missouri's going to pick a new governor in the next election. What challenges should that leader be ready to face? We're going to talk to him right around 7:34 here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Nice and mild this morning and dry with lower humidity and mild temperatures. A beautiful start to the day. We'll see a mix of clouds and sun with lots of sun at times and the high temperature about 79 degrees, but lower humidity today. Even better tomorrow. Full on sunshine. Lows in the low 50s in the morning and Friday's high in the mid to upper 70s. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Report cards are a good way to show how well your kids are doing in class and where they might need improvement. We at the Show Me Institute believe schools should get grades too, so parents can see how their child's school compares to others. That's why we came up with the Missouri School Rankings Project. Click on the website moschoolrankings.org and it's all there. Rankings and letter grades for all the schools in Missouri. The rankings are based on categories such as student performance in English language arts and math, ACT scores, and graduation rates. Then we take the rankings and come up with a grade point average, just like your child has. Each school and district has a grade, and the website is easy to use. And now we've added spending data for every district, so parents, taxpayers, and policymakers can see where the money is going. Don't you want to know how your child's school stacks up? Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue, and after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Live and local.
Welcome home. And whoosh, sitting in traffic, stuck in a jam, and being entertained by Vic and Thunder Stealing Ken.
This is News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
One in a million chance. You know the moment that you cross over the line.
The late, great Tina Turner, St. Louis's own. I know she was just here for a few years, but she launched her career here in St. Louis, so we claim her. Dead at the age of 83 after a just iconic, legendary entertainment career.
I'm guessing she played some gigs in Gaslight Square.
Probably.
Since that was late 60s, early 70s
I would think
when
so.
that area was still going.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I imagine so. All right, 7:36 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Gabe Pfeiffer here. Got Stel Ponticus here. Don't forget the News Talk STL newsletter. It is free. Comes out once a week. Very, very quick read. A lot of fun, including a political cartoon from our own Todd Showalter every week. Once again, just go to newstalkstl.com and you can find that and subscribe to it for free. Okay, when you look at the last legislative session, we're going to start there in just a moment. I guess the term unfinished business can come up a lot for those who are involved in public policy and politics and all that sort of thing. So what should not only the legislature tackle next, but also we're going to elect a new leader for the state in 2024. What is that person going to need to be ready to face? And Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe joins us right now, technically speaking, the president of the state Senate as well. So having plenty of legislative experience, I'm looking forward to getting your perspective on this, Governor. Thanks so much for being on the show. When you look back at the 2023 legislative session, personally, it leaves me a little flat. I think we could have done a lot more conservative stuff, but how do you see it having been in Jefferson City that whole time?
Well, first of all, Mike, Gabe, and Stell, it's great to be on News Talk. Appreciate you guys having me on this morning. As you know, I'm from St. Louis, so I love to talk to my St. Louis buddies through your network. Every session that I've been associated with, it seems like we end and there's two or three, sometimes a handful of things you say, man, why didn't we get that across the finish line? Certainly, I would have liked to have seen initiative petition reform done. I'm a fan of trying to make it a little bit tougher to change our state's constitution, which is sometimes changed too easily, as we've seen in the past. So, and then obviously the state control of the St. Louis Police Board. I know crime is the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 issue in St. Louis, and has been for a few years. I think that would have made a difference. So those are two of the kind of pieces that I would have liked to see got across. There's some school choice pieces that Andrew Koenig had, a senator from there in West County, St. Louis, who's been a rock star on pushing education reform ideas that we'd have liked to see get as well. So those were the kind of things I would have liked to have seen done, but those are things that I know the legislature will tackle as quickly as they can. I would say there are some good things that we got done. I think the transgender bills that were passed were critical. It's unfortunate we need to spend time on that issue, but it's important that we protect kids and women's sports on those two issues. And then I would say the generational changing project that got done is the 6 laning of I-70. I mean, the economic impact from that construction project is going to be something like this state has never seen, but the safety for our families and our economic development that we can do along that corridor will continue to be something that we can highlight as a state. And that project, that's a big win. That's huge. And you don't see that every day. So I was happy to see that get across the finish line.
Yeah, and I just drove the length of I-70 over the past weekend. We're talking with Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, and the construction on the Boonville Bridge right over the river has already begun, and that's moving very, very fast. I know those were two separate packages, but a lot of infrastructure. Can I follow up real quick on the transgender stuff real quick? Because my critique has been that comparatively speaking, Missouri's bill got hollowed out to where it was really kind of weak. Nothing is criminalized. Somebody can be sued later on, and the law expires in 4 years. In Idaho, for example, you could be fined tens of thousands of dollars and go to jail if you chemically or surgically alter a child. Is there still hope that we can actually toughen up and get a little more serious about this, or is what we got, you think, the best that we can do?
No, I definitely think there's still hope. Now, I don't second guess the people who are negotiating and trying to figure out a path forward on these bills, because the session is complicated with lots of different factors. But getting a start on this issue, I think, was important. And yes, there's multiple people, including myself and you guys, that would say we need a little bit tougher, clause in this and some ability to take action. And I think you've seen the first step, and I'm sure that there will be legislators who follow up with a little bit additional penalties and actions in that regard.
Good morning, Lieutenant Governor Gabe Pfeiffer here. What do you make of the calls for a special session to put some conservative unfinished business back on the table?
Well, special sessions have to be extraordinary reasons, and that's obviously up to the governor. Every year, again, that I've been around that building, there's multiple legislators calling for things they think are important to get done, and usually they are important priorities, but they have to fit what the special session call and the Constitution lays out, and so that's where it sometimes gets tricky. You can't just call a special session for something that you and I might think is very important and needs to get done unless it really fits the extraordinary definition as outlined in the Constitution. So I'm sure the governor will look at what those issues are and take into consideration what each of the lawmakers feel should be done and find out if there's a need and a path for that.
If the state government isn't at a record level of money in the coffers right now, or the revenues, it's got to be close to it. What's your take on the next set of budget priorities, possibly tax relief for everybody or changes in spending priorities? Because, I've been covering the legislature. You and I have interviewed a number of times over the years, and I don't know that I've ever seen such an explosion in revenue for a state, and we've spent a lot more as well. So as we grow into whatever the next phase of the state is and the state government is, what's the most fiscally responsible way to do that? Do we grow programs? Do we tax cut? How should we look at our finances in the state?
No, I almost shouted out loud when you said, do we grow programs? No, we don't grow programs.
Yay. Thank you.
It's a ridiculous amount of money, to answer your question. It will not be this high again. It is the highest ever. It will not be this high again. You're seeing the tail end of some of the federal dollars that flowed through for various programs, whether it was COVID or some of the ARPA monies, et cetera. So you're not going to see this kind of revenue again. The answer to your question is this: Missourians can spend their money way better than any elected official will ever be able to do that. So whenever you have a chance to give money back to Missourians, that's what you need to do. In the last 5 years, maybe it's 6 total, there have been 3 major tax cuts, including one that happened last special session. Personal income tax in the state has gone down now over 25%. Still there. I would love to figure out a way to tail that out altogether. And I think there's probably a plan where we can look at that will take some time. But we have cut income taxes down substantially in the last couple of years. And I think you're right. We got to continue to find ways to give money back to Missourians. It's your money, by the way. It's not the government's. And let them spend it, because they will spend it, and it will get back into our economy. Instead of funneling or making programs bigger, we have to get back to this era where it's okay to give somebody a hand up. But the handouts are just becoming insane. And so stopping and controlling some of that spending to get people incentivized to get back in the workforce, to give them training to get back and be productive citizens of our economy, I think that's the key of what we need to do.
Good morning, Mike. This is Stal Ponticus with Kim Gardner. gone. There seems to be a hopeful feeling for positive changes here in St. Louis City. Are there ways that Jeff City can help facilitate those changes?
Well, see, when you said Kim Gardner gone, Stell, I almost yelled out loud, yay. Thank goodness. That was really a black eye on St. Louis not being able to, keep the bad people where they needed to be and back up the police, which is the number one thing I think as a citizenry we should be doing. Number one, is there something Jefferson City can do? My number one goal in life is to keep government out of your life. And so anytime we need to micromanage something, I get a little bit nervous. But certainly you have a new chief on board in St. Louis City. I think he's going to do a good job. I've been impressed with my interactions with him so far. And now that you have a new prosecutor, I believe he is going to, change the way that office looks and operates. Look, it can only get better. And I think that will be a major thing in trying to improve the crime situation. We need additional tools. The police need more resources and more bodies. But we definitely have to get things in the right direction because St. Louis is the front door to our state. The St. Louis region is the front door to the rest of the state. Now, other communities in the state don't like me always saying that, but the truth is 44% of our GDP comes out of that region, those 4 or 5 county areas. And so making sure that if people want to get to the dining room or the back porch in some other community of the state, they got to come through the front door first. So we have to securing what the crime rate is and what we can do to help protect those communities in the St. Louis region is absolutely paramount.
We are visiting with Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe. And, Governor, we just have a couple minutes left here. When you look, now let me ask you a campaign question. Obviously, you're running for governor next year. When you look at the future of the state of Missouri, whatever is going to be the next generation of challenges and issues, what is it that our leader, our governor, is going to need to be ready to face? And if you're that person, what's the approach that you take to governance with whatever the future challenges are, both near and far?
Well, let me just say two things. Whoever the next governor is, I believe will likely be a Republican. And protecting those conservative values, whether that's innocent life, Second Amendment rights, et cetera, those have got to be the foundation of who that person is. But if I were to win and Missourians were to choose me, my day one goal will be crime. That is the absolute day one thing that we have to get our arms around and start working to get resolution and keep our communities safe and our people safe. Number two would be education opportunities. We just talked about them a few minutes ago, making sure we're holding school districts accountable. Throwing more money at the problem is not the answer in education. Holding schools accountable and making sure that a rising tide will raise all ships will be very important to me on day one. Number three will be growing our ag economy. It is our number one industry. It's a massive industry in the St. Louis region and the urban areas with different companies that are located there. And obviously, we're number two in the United States with 95,000 family-owned farms across the state. So agriculture and growing that piece of the business will be big. And then last but not least, continued jobs and opportunities for Missourians. We talk about economic development, workforce development, finding ways that the Mike Kehoes of the world can get a leg up and try to advance their family. Or my mother's case where she worked 3 jobs to raise 6 kids by herself. Those are the types of environments we need to create by attracting additional quality jobs, helping existing businesses grow, number one, and then looking to attract additional businesses to our state to have Missourians be able to provide for their family and have a working wage. I think that's very important as well.
Okay, and what's the website for people to check out your platform and your media appearances and statements and everything like that?
Sure, it's MikeKehoe.com, MikeKehoe.com. We'd love people to go check it out, look a little bit about my story, and I think they'll find a lot out about who we are and what we intend to do.
All right, Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, good talking to you again. Thanks so much for being on.
Thank you guys for having me. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
314-912-1019. Got some thoughts on that? You can give me a call or chat with me on Rumble. Stell and Gabe are watching Facebook, and you can tweet at us at News Talk STL. By the way, did you know that something in your house is probably just brainwashing you? You've been brainwashed?
Really?
Yep. The Globe.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. There was a online show where a person ranted about globes being brainwashing tools.
Globes.
You mean like a world globe?
Yeah, like
the little,
like the ones we had in class,
like the
circle.
planet. Yeah, brainwashing. Brainwashing.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Spheres mess with your brain.
Yeah, it's complete brainwashing.
Okay.
Yeah, I will let you hear from the flat earther herself.
Oh, no.
Who has been a Republican candidate for governor of another state.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we'll do that right around 7:52 on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Love is a piece of cake. Making love is all there is to it.
Hey, St. Louis, it's Dan Bongino. Proud to be part of the News Talk STL lineup.
Every weekday from 11 to 2, we'll get together to talk about what's going on.
News, analysis, opinion, and always some fun. Make an appointment to be with us every weekday beginning at 11 on News Talk STL.
Welcome home.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Well, folks, spring has definitely sprung here in the Heartland. Great time to get Hanson's Tree Service out to your home or business to spruce up and take care of all your landscaping needs. Tim Jones here for Hanson's Tree Service. You can find them 24/7 at hansonstree.com. What are we talking about here? Organic mulch. Hanson's has beautiful organic mulch for all of your landscape beds. They can also take care of all your tree trimming and pruning services. Let Hanson's take care of all that stuff before our crazy spring storms take care of it for you. Give them a call anytime, 636-379-1830, hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Getting a new floor for your home can be intimidating and a little scary, but that's not the case when you go to Michael's Flooring Outlet. Katie here, and my mom and dad used Michael's, and they had a great experience. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Shop in-store at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Dardine Prairie, or St. Peter's. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Hey, it's Columbo, and you know there's a lot to celebrate this month with graduations and family gatherings right around the corner, so do what I've done many times and let the team at Zero Res ensure you're celebrating in a clean home. And don't forget, if you book a cleaning in May, just mention the Columbo special and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129, plus a free hallway and $75 off an air duct cleaning. Just call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
Hi, it's Dan Bongino here, and I'm proud to be on News Talk STL every weekday from 11 to 2. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I call you, I need you, my heart's on fire. You come to me wild and wild.
Maybe my favorite.
I got to correct what we were discussing earlier.
Oh, really?
I'll do it off air.
Okay.
Give me a lifetime of promises and a world of dreams.
I'm not talking until the chorus kicks in.
Okay.
Such a great line right there.
Her voice.
Here we go.
You're simply the best.
Man, come on. It's a great song.
Do you find any flaw in this song?
Zero.
I don't think we can be friends anymore.
0 flaws in this song. My goodness.
Jeez. All right, 7:53 right now here. By the way, 8:05, we've got the standoff over the debt ceiling. And while both the speaker and the president say, yeah, we're making progress, it's going to be fine, the closer we get to the Whether it is a legitimate deadline or whether that's just Janet Yellen throwing down the gauntlet, I don't know. But understand that this has potentially a very big effect on you if you have things like, I don't know, retirement plans, 401ks, IRAs,
any sort of
403b,
savings,
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This really could have a massive effect on us, including on even consumer prices. So we're gonna have a conversation with one of the experts in about 10 minutes right here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Did you know that globes are a conspiracy and they're brainwashing us, guys?
Oh, this story is good. I can feel my rocket scientist sensibilities just getting all of Twitter here. It's like, ugh.
Okay, so there's this video clip that's going around, and it's with a Georgia, I guess you could call her a politician, because she's actually like a district director in the Georgia Republican Party.
Oh my gosh.
She apparently ran for governor and got like 2 or 3%. Nobody cared what she had to say. But her name is Candace Taylor, Candace with a K. And she has this.
Well, there's your first problem.
With a K.
Sorry.
Not with a C, like normal Candaces.
Sorry.
I don't know any Candaces who. Anyway. So she's got this video show called, like one of these vlog cast shows called Jesus Guns Babies.
What?
That's the name of her show. Jesus Guns Babies. So
okay, so this is like okay, I'm a Christian supposedly, a pro-life and pro-Second Amendment. I guess that's the intent of that name.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of people who are like God guns babies. You know, I'm like, okay, well, interesting combination, but whatever, you do you.
It's weird saying.
Yeah.
Communications people would say, don't do that.
So she goes on this show with a couple other guys. I have no idea who they are. And she rants and raves about the fact that it really angers her that she goes into different places and she sees globes. Because you see, she's a flat earther. And apparently there is an actual community of these people. Here's what she had to say.
I can't unsee this. All the globes everywhere. I turn on TV. There's globes in the background. There's globes on there right here. Like this would be a globe if I was a normal person. Like everywhere there's globes. My children will be like, Mama, globe, 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 globe. They're everywhere. And that's what they do to brainwash. And so for me, if it is not a conspiracy, if it is, real, why are you pushing so hard? Everywhere I go, every store, you buy a globe. There's globes everywhere. Every movie, every TV show, news media. Why?
If I were a normal person.
That's what got me. That's what got me.
Wow.
Hey, Candace with a K, you're not normal.
Oh my gosh. Here's one reason why globes would be everywhere. It's like because if you're going to represent a three-dimensional planet, it'll be a sphere because that's what it is.
You've been brainwashed.
Cats everywhere are going, wait a minute. I'm all these ledges that I'm on. I thought it was a flat Earth.
Well, put it this way. All of the satellites that currently run the communications of America would not be able to do what they do if us rocket scientists did not know that the globe was flat. Or the globe. The planet was. If the planet was flat, our satellites wouldn't do what they do.
At first, when I first heard about the flat Earth thing, I'm like, that's a parody. We're being trolled. There are actually people out there that like this is their thing.
But why does she have such that sweet southern? I actually love that southern accent. That particular because it sounds so sweet. Like tell me she wants to give me some peach tea or something.
I'm spherically challenged.
Spherically challenged.
Michaelis brings it home. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. 6 strikeouts for Michaelis.
Spend your Memorial Day at the ballpark with the Cardinals and the Royals. That day, 25,000 fans ages 21 and older will boost their fashion game with a Cardinals all-over print shirt. Thanks to Budweiser. That's Monday, May 29th. Memorial Day at the ballpark with the Cardinals, Royals, and the all-over print shirt. Great seats remain. Get your tickets today at Cardinals.com.
The latest installment in the historic I-70 series is almost here. The Kansas City Royals make their only visit to Busch Stadium May 29th and 30th. The series kicks off on Memorial Day when 25,000 fans ages 21 and up will take home an exclusive all-over print shirt courtesy of Budweiser. Don't miss out. The Cardinals and the Royals as they battle it out for the title of Best in Missouri in the I-70 series May 29th and 30th. Great seats to remain for Memorial Day. Get yours at Cardinals.com.
This is Paul Goldschmidt. Summer in St. Louis means baseball.
How'd you like to eliminate your expensive cable bill forever or get new satellite internet where cable can't go? Well, now you can have affordable satellite internet service for a few dollars a day. All you need is a mini satellite installed, and you can have unlimited internet connections wirelessly in your home or office. And no cable boxes means unlimited connections and no clutter. You can surf the internet or stream any of your favorite television services with no cable. And the best part is, satellite internet service costs only a few dollars a day for your entire home. Yes, fast internet to surf or stream television for a few bucks a day. Call now for free details and learn how to drop your expensive cable bill.
800-696-2871. 800-696-2871. 800-696-2871. That's 800-696-2871.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. It wasn't necessarily what he said, it was how it was delivered that's drawing fire from political foes.
Republican Governor Ron DeSantis launched his campaign in a special Twitter Spaces feed, criticizing President Biden.
He lacks vigor, flounders in the face of our nation's challenges, and he takes his cues from the woke mob.
But there were technical problems that led to starts and stops, audio glitches. DeSantis was asked why he chose Twitter. He compared it to his COVID lockdown opposition, lamenting a lack of free expression.
Because he's a good businessman, Elon, I'm sure you'll end up making money.
Even that was marred by an audio glitch. Donald Trump tweeted, "The DeSantis Twitter launch is a disaster. I'm Jackie Quinn."
Accusing President Biden of having played a dangerous waiting game with the nation's debt ceiling.
The president waited 97 days, not even to talk to me. He could have spoken to me, said we were wrong on other angles, but he didn't.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who says his latest talks with the president were productive. The White House accusing McCarthy and the Republicans of creating what it calls a manufactured crisis.
A default would have catastrophic impacts in every single part of this country, whether you're in a red state or in a blue state. It doesn't matter. Every single part of the country.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, still no agreement on raising the debt limit with June 1st now a week away. The unofficial start of the summer travel season is upon us. AAA predicts 37 million Americans will drive at least 50 miles from home this weekend, an increase of more than 2 million from Memorial Day last year, but it's still below the pre-pandemic numbers of 2019. The Dow futures are down 7 points. NASDAQ futures up 308. More on these stories, townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Corey, and this is my story. I was going through some financial troubles paying off my credit cards. I was paying high interest rates, and it just wasn't getting any better. And I knew I had to do something. So my mom told me about Trinity, and so I decided to call. Trinity was able to do something that I couldn't. I'm paying off my debt. I'm saving thousands, and things are really looking up. I promise you guys, you will not regret it when you call Trinity, because it was such a relief and less stress in my life, and it was the best thing I could have done for myself, because once I called Trinity, they took care of me, and I felt such a relief, a weight off my shoulders. Trinity was great to work with. They wanted to help me. I love it.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
I'm Corey, and I'm debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Nice and mild this morning and dry with lower humidity and mild temperatures. A beautiful start to the day. We'll see a mix of clouds and sun with lots of sun at times and the high temperature about 79 degrees. But lower humidity today, even better tomorrow. Full-on sunshine, lows in the low 50s in the morning and Friday's high in the mid to upper 70s. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
You know, when we talk about dental care, a lot of times the first thing you think about is, are my teeth white? Are there chips? Are there cavities? Do I need a crown? Yes, I need a cleaning. But have you thought about what your dental health means for the health of the rest of your body? If you're pregnant, there's a big impact of your dental health and your gum health and inflammation in and around the teeth and the gums that can impact preterm labor and really impact the successful outcome. There are some studies that suggest that poor dental health may be related to premature cardiovascular disease. These are the kind of issues that are addressed when you visit my friends at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. The whole family can benefit from a visit to Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles with Dr. Dan Cusimano, Dr. Megan Dwyer, Dr. Jay Omas. Or if you haven't seen anyone for a while, go out and get to know them. It's a fabulous team, all up and down the team, from the dentist to the hygienist to the front office. Great group. 978-0226. That's 636-978-0226. Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles, advanceddentistrynow.com.
Mike Ferguson.
It's a miracle we're not in prison.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
Are you kidding me?
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
No deal yet. The Speaker of the House, the President, that say, yeah, don't worry about it. We're going to figure out the debt ceiling thing. We're going to figure out how to spend a lot more money. Other U.S. senators saying, just relax, everybody. Should we relax?
Just relax.
You know, I don't think we're in apocalyptic times here or anything like that. But at some point, the fiscal irresponsibility does come with a price tag. How close are we to actually having the price tag? It is 8:05 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Gabe Pfeiffer here. Got Stel Ponticus here. Joined now by Dr. Samuel Gregg. Dr. Gregg, really appreciate you being on with us. So I'm going to tap into your economic expertise here. The Speaker of the House, the President, they agree that they want to incur a lot more debt to keep the programs running, keep the paychecks going out from the government to pay the bills, but they're disagreeing on whether or not to, I don't even know about cutting spending, just not exploding spending even more. So when you look at the economic uncertainty, does that risk having an effect in other aspects of our life, regardless of what the deal is, just considering how much uncertainty there is?
Well, thanks, Mike, for having me on. That's a good question. I think when we look at this situation, we've been going through this every few years, right? We go through this process of this sort of high-stakes negotiation before eventually a deal is made. What's interesting about it this time, however, is that I think both the Democrats and the Republicans understand that if you look at opinion polling about the national debt, Americans are starting to become much more concerned about it, openly concerned about it, than they were, say, 5 years ago. And that's interesting because what that tells us is that the American people are starting to wake up to the fact that we are basically paying for the present with the future. That's what essentially we're doing. And if we get into the situation of a debt default, well, that would have some very severe consequences for the United States federal government. It would have some significant problems for the U.S. and global economy. It would mean things like a downgrade by credit agencies. It would mean increased borrowing costs for businesses and homemakers, and a drop-off in things like consumer confidence, right? That would really, I think, shock the American financial markets. And so I think that what's happening now is that there's just more consciousness about this, that how bad this is in the long term for the American economy to be so reliant upon debt for funding programs for which we don't raise enough revenue. So public debt is not the same as home debt, but I think a lot of people are starting to understand that if we keep going this way, we're just going to dig ourselves bigger and bigger into a deeper and deeper hole. And what's horrifying about this is that our debt levels are now higher than what they were during the Second World War. And as far as I can tell, we're not engaged in a global war against a totalitarian regime right now. So these are some of the very negative consequences, I think, that are coming down the line. Now, I happen to think it's good that there seems to be some agreement between the White House and Congress, at least some people in the White House and some people in Congress, that maybe we should freeze spending, right? So that's a lot better than saying, well, let's just increase the debt limit so that we can increase spending. I mean, personally, I would like to see actual cuts in spending. That's unlikely, but I would like to see that happen. But at the moment, I think the fact that they're gravitating towards some sort of at least slowdown in spending tells us that even people in Washington, D.C. are starting to realize we can't keep going this way.
Good morning, Samuel. Gabe Pfeiffer here. I was actually just about to go there with it, with the change in the White House press secretary's rhetoric on this. I mean, at first it was, no, we're not going to negotiate. And then it became, well, we always wanted to negotiate. Is the White House kind of responding to that public understanding, that public awareness? And do you think they're going to blink in this game of a political chicken here?
Well, I never tried to prognosticate about what politicians might or might not do. But what it does seem to me to be clear is that politicians on both sides are now aware that Americans are more attentive to this issue than they have been in a very long period of time. And that's, I think, because the economy, the economic conditions of the United States are not that great right now. Growth is not that great. Unemployment is very low, but we also know that's because a lot of people have basically checked out of the workforce and have stopped looking for work, or have decided that they can put together enough by way of welfare that they don't need to work anymore. The American economy is becoming less and less competitive. Entrepreneurship is falling across the board across the United States. Now, the American economy is in a lot better shape than some other economies, particularly most Western European economies. But the problem is that these not so good, or let's call them mediocre economic conditions, are causing people to ask questions and focus upon things like the debt issue that they haven't looked at and thought about seriously for a long time. And politicians tend to respond to that, wherever they come from on the political spectrum.
Dr. Greg, this is Stal Ponticus. You mentioned about instances in the past. I know it may seem distant, but didn't we go through this in 2013? And the debt problem then, I think, was $16 million. Now we're double that at $32 million. And I guess if you aggregate everything together, it really may be more like trillion. Did I say million?
You said
I
million,
wish.
yeah.
Trillion. Sorry. Do you think that we have a road to get out of this, a way to get out of it?
Well, I wish it was millions rather than trillions as well, but unfortunately it's not. I think the only road out of this is for Americans to seriously reflect upon entitlement spending, because that is where the overwhelming bulk of the federal share of public debt goes, right? Because we're not raising enough in revenue in terms of taxation, so we resort to debt. And what are we resorting to debt for? Not to pay for war, not to pay for a strong military. We're using debt to pay for entitlement programs, Social Security, Medicare, etc. So what that tells us is that if we're serious about getting our public debt addiction under control, then we must seriously tackle entitlements. That, I'm afraid, is really hard, because the moment you do that, at least some politicians will say, well, clearly you don't care about the poor. Clearly you don't care about orphans and widows. Clearly you don't care about the American people, especially those on the lower side of the income spectrum. So the political dynamics, the political incentives to do something about the debt are not great. Now, one can hope maybe that a crisis will come along that will force Congress and the White House to think more seriously about these issues. But frankly, in times of crises, there's no guarantee that people will do the right thing. Sometimes they'll do the exact opposite. So frankly, there's no easy way out of this. That is the real challenge, because the political incentives to fundamentally tackle the basic problem, which is welfare spending, entitlement spending, that's the political incentives to do that are not very high at all.
We are visiting with Dr. Samuel Gregg from the American Institute for Economic Research, among many other organizations as well. Let me come back to the debt ceiling discussion here. You know, we've had pretty much apocalyptic predictions if the debt ceiling is not raised. I don't see any sign that they're not going to agree to raise the debt, unfortunately. But what are the real world effects that we would all feel? Because I think, Dr. Gregg, that a lot of us just look at this as a political football. It's just numbers on a spreadsheet. Doesn't actually affect me in my real life, but it really does. What are the effects that we are at risk of feeling individually and with our households?
Well, I think the first would be increased borrowing costs for businesses and homeowners alike. That's the first thing. So we'd be paying more for debt that we freely incur. Second, I think we'd see a drop-off in consumer confidence. That would, I think, hurt financial markets and possibly tip the economy into recession. There's also the possibility that it would cause a certain degree of unemployment. That's another thing that I think could also flow through from this. I think, but above all, what we would see is higher interest rates for everyone, including the federal government. And that would mean more pain for everyone. So all these things, I think, would bring some significant harm to the domestic economy and the way that we live our lives on a daily basis. I also think it would also hurt global financial markets. It would also undermine confidence in the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. And any hit to confidence, I think, in the U.S. economy would cause investors to sell things like treasury bonds and thus weaken the U.S. dollar. So there are micro implications to this, and there are some pretty big macro implications to this. And this is, I'm not saying anything that people don't already know. This is already, I think, pretty clear. People understand this, which is why people want to avoid default situation. But it's a sad sign of the state of our politics that we go through this cycle every few years because we're not confronting fundamental problems. And by the way, it's not just American politicians who are failing to do this. It's us as citizens, right? We're not willing to think about things like, well, we're going to spend all this money on entitlements. We have to ask serious questions about how we pay for it. And how we're paying for it is through debt. And that is just not a healthy situation.
To help me understand, I guess, the depth of our problem, if you had to put a number on it, and you mentioned this before, you really want to see cuts in our budget. To put some numbers on it, I guess, just to give us an idea, how deep would the cuts have to be, and for how long, to get us back to some measure of solvency? Or is that too big of an ask?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, the size of the U.S. debt is very much dependent upon calculating the debt depends upon how much growth in the economy we're likely to experience in the future. So high growth economy tends to translate into the debt as a proportion of GDP starts to drop. And that's a good thing. But so we need a lot more growth in the American economy. And that, I think, is key to sort of getting debt as a proportion of the overall economy under control. But if you think about this in terms of government spending, something like two-thirds of government spending at the moment is on entitlement programs. I would like to see a gradual but nonetheless significant reduction of that so that we can get back to, let's say, half of that would be a way of at least moving forward in seriously tackling some of the longer-term reasons why we keep racking up all this debt. And let's not forget, we're paying interest on this debt. And in fact, we're borrowing money to pay for the interest on the debt right now. So I'm not one who thinks that we can just tinker around with this, to think that just a little change here and a little change there will bring things under control. We need substantive cuts in spending, and that means being willing to tackle those programs that for many people on both sides of politics are off limits.
So we're talking about austerity here.
Well, I think we're talking about austerity that would actually have meaningful implications for government spending. Now, that doesn't mean that essential services would go away. That doesn't mean that we'd stop paying for our military or anything like that, or things that the federal government actually should be doing. But I would like to see a sort of wider debate about why it is that we're relying upon the federal government for so many of these programs, rather than thinking about the ways in which what we might call civil society can deal with some of these deeper problems in our economy and among those people who are on the lower incomes side of the spectrum.
All right. American Institute for Economic Research's Dr. Samuel Gregg. Hey, really appreciate you being on the program. I know that if people want to follow you on Twitter, they're going to get a lot of information from you. What's the way to be in touch?
Best way on Twitter is to follow me at Dr. Samuel Gregg.
All right, Gregg, 2 G's. All right, Dr. Gregg, thank you so much for being on the program and all the information.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. The number here is 314-912-1019. I know a lot of people will recoil, Gabe, when you said austerity.
Yeah.
If you said that word in Europe, they're ready to riot.
Oh, yes. They've done so.
Yeah.
I think
especially in Paris.
Yeah. You know what? It's a reality, though. If we're going to right the ship,
got to confront it.
The thing is that political leaders who put us through that, even if it's the right thing to do, know they're going to lose. So what happens is political backbone gives way to electoral reality. And that's partially on us. I think Sam Gregg is right about that.
Yeah.
All right, just ahead, let's get up to date on the news that's happening around the area. And then also, Ron DeSantis, he makes it official. He jumps into the campaign for president, sort of wades his way in because of technical difficulties. But still, he's in the race now. Where do we go from here? We got that to cover here just ahead on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. USA.
It's not uncommon today for young people to try out different labels in search of their truth.
In search of their truth or following your indoctrination.
Larry Connors.
Which came first?
Weeknights at 6 on News Talk STL.
Are you wanting to improve the look and efficiency of your home? Well, one of the best and easiest ways you can do that, get some new windows. Window World, simply the best for less. You can give them a call today at 314-993-1800. Over 20 years in the business in the St. Louis area, over 70,000 satisfied customers. That's because Window World uses double strength glass, gives it a strength not commonly used in replacement windows. They've got the Good Housekeeping Seal of Approval. They've got 18 months, same as cash financing. You can get them today. 314-993-1800, windowworld.com. That's windowworld.com.
Seidenstricker Nobe Partners has the equipment you need to get the job done at our Buy Green, Save Green sales event. For May only, save up to $2,500 on in-stock 5E John Deere tractors with 0% financing, or a new 1 through 4 Series compact tractor package with a mower and a loader for as low as $197 a month. Visit snpartners.com for more information. Seidenstricker Nobe, your partner for the land.
Offer valid through 5/26/2023. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Rear Admiral Charles Williams, U.S. Navy retired. Admiral Williams has served our nation ably for several decades, both here and abroad.
I listen to your show from time to time, and I got to tell you, it's very educational. You cover local, as you just did with the Urban League, and then you cover national political stuff and international, which maybe I can help you a little bit with.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
Stories of New Americans.
Hi, this is Ron Clutho. Join me this weekend for Stories of New Americans.
where you'll hear fascinating and inspirational personal stories of people from all over the globe who now call St. Louis home. We'll take a look at the U.S. through newcomers' eyes and get insight into world history and culture, and maybe just learn a little bit more about ourselves.
Stories of New Americans with Ron Clutho. Saturday nights at 10 on News Talk STL.
The tides are changing.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The Democratic Party doesn't stand with what I stand for.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Prisoner of your love, entangled in your web, hot whispers in the night. I'm captured by your spell.
Why do all these songs make me smile so much?
Because they're good. They're just good.
Some great memories.
Oh, man. I'm letting the crescendo build here. Then I'm going to do the news round. All right, I guess we should do a news roundup here, right? Let's get up to date.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign got off to kind of bit of a rough start there for a little bit. Twitter's audio feed of his discussion with Elon Musk crashed. It took a while to get that back up and running. So basically now, if you want to hear that conversation, you need to go back to Twitter, which is available. Gabe will have an update for you here in just a second. He was asked about a lot of different topics, a lot of different issue and policy areas. And then, and this was a very good backup on his campaign's part, they had him booked for a long-form interview on Fox News with Trey Gowdy, who was guest hosting Fox News tonight. And one of those issues that came up with Trey Gowdy was illegal immigration.
It's a national emergency. We'll mobilize all resources to construct the border wall, shut the border down. We're not going to be entertaining asylum claims for people coming across the border illegally. We're going to make very clear about that. We're going to have things like remain in Mexico, so we don't have the incentives to come illegally.
Okay, so if you want to find out what his actual policy positions are, you can agree or disagree, but they're there and they were covered with those two, and there's going to be all sorts of interviews in the meantime. But I guess, Gabe, what we found out is that Twitter just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre to me because they had to know this was going to be a major event, but Twitter's whatever in the interwebs crashed.
Yeah. I think their server basically just couldn't handle all of the inquiries coming at the same time the way they did. Those things generally happen when we're talking about the volumes that we're talking about. Because the thing is, I'm looking at the link that Elon tweeted out for that live discussion with Ron DeSantis, and you can play the recording even now. And 3 million, it says.
Okay, so what was it like an hour and a half ago?
Hour and a half is 2.8.
So it's gone up 200,000 in the last 90 minutes.
Yeah. So 3 million people have tuned into this hour-long discussion recording that's now available on Twitter. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm a communications director for his campaign, I'm thinking we got a lot of reach out of this.
Yeah, I mean, it was a debacle at the time. I was trying to listen at 5.
Oh, yeah. I did too.
Yeah, I was one of those.
Everybody did. That's what the problem.
I was one of those where I'm like, I can't get it to play. It won't stay up there. So I'm like, all right, I'll just, I guess, get it in the morning. And I gave up and I went on and did other stuff.
I was one of those little faces that was sitting up there. And, you know, when you tried to get in, there was a series of faces like, okay, Elon Musk is here, Ron DeSantis is here, and then a few other people. You know, anybody who's in your kind of list, with their little check marks, they show up there. And then I was there. I was like, hey, I'm in queue. I'm in the line. And I was like, I guess they haven't started yet. And then they hadn't started yet for like 20 minutes. So that was a problem.
Okay, so 8:35. Let's go into more depth, not just on the campaign launch, but what is it that Ron DeSantis brings to the campaign itself, since he's 100% in. Okay, locally here, both the city and county of St. Charles, they are suing Ameren over this ongoing water contamination issue. Now, the issue is ongoing. The water itself has been tested multiple times. The water is now safe, and it's been safe for a long time.
Right.
Now, this is all related to the problems, among others, with the Elm Point Wellfield substation. So, like I said, the water's safe to drink now, but the city, over the last several years, has had to purchase about $2 million of water from St. Louis. Some of the problems, according to Ameren, happened because of cleaning chemicals that were used years ago in the system, and several substations of water pumps just aren't, or water substations aren't working right now, and this has been an ongoing issue with St. Charles. But I know it's not, the big, flashy political things, but we're talking about water.
Yeah.
Like an essential nutrient of life. I mean, not nutrient, but essential foundation of life. And one of the things that, needs to be delivered, as a public utility, obviously. So lawsuits are happening. Ameren is saying, hey, groundwater is safe now, drinking water is safe, and they're trying to sort out who's going to pay what for the damages financially and otherwise that have happened over the last several years.
Yeah, this whole debacle. I mean, I don't know why we keep having problems with water in this country. You would think America is the place where you can definitely get safe, clean, fresh drinking water. But we've got places like Flint, Michigan, and then this area here, and Coldwater Creek has some problems. It's like all of these areas that have problems with water. There are droughts out there in California all the time, out west. Guys, we should be able to solve this problem.
I'm almost ready to get one of those big canisters you put in your backyard.
Oh, yeah, collect rainwater.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, former Missouri Speaker of the House, Republican John Deal, he represented part of the St. Louis metro area for a number of years, fined $47,000 by the Missouri Ethics Commissions. So here's what they went after him for. They said he underreported campaign funds. He used campaign money to pay some personal expenses, although he has paid that back, and for not reporting financial donations out of that political money. But if he pays the fine within the next 6 weeks or so, they're not going to charge him $40,000. They'll charge him $10,000 if he pays up quick.
Okay. So, I mean that's pretty standard. I mean,
yeah.
For as often as we like to kind of pick on people who have these campaign finance problems, they happen a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, part of it is an accounting problem. I don't know where I'm paying these things from. I pay somebody to do that for me. Tell me what account to write this check from.
I got fined by the Missouri Ethics Commission once.
See?
Yeah, back in 2004 when I ran for lieutenant governor on the Libertarian Party ticket, we got a financial, like a quarterly report turned in late, and I got fined like $100.
Yeah.
That happened.
That stuff happens.
Yep.
So, unless we're talking about they're taking bribes and they're
Right.
hiding millions of dollars coming out of China or something it's like, okay, those are bigger. Those are the big fish that I want fried.
Yeah, but underreporting the cash you have on hand is not good. Paying
That's true.
personal bills out
That's
of that,
true.
not good as
Obviously.
Okay, now I don't talk. You guys know that I'm kind of averse to hyperbolic talk, so I don't talk in over-the-top terms very often. But it's not over the top to say Tina Turner's career was iconic in pop and rock music.
Absolutely.
That's not overstepping here. The international superstar graduated from Sumner High School in 1958. Turner was 83 years old. She passed away in Switzerland, where she'd lived for several years, and I don't know what the illness was that ended up taking her life. She had a long career. What a story, especially with what she went through with Ike Turner. The movie about that is called "What's Love Got to Do with It?"
Right.
And I imagine a lot of people are probably watching that over the weekend here, starring Angela Bassett, and I want to say it was Lawrence Fishburne who played Ike Turner.
it was.
I think it was.
Yes.
So you're hearing a lot of Tina Turner music here today. Yes, we have a claim on Tina Turner. She launched her career here in St. Louis. She graduated from Sumner High School under her real name, which was Ann Bullock.
Man, oh my gosh! Just imagine you happen upon Tina Turner before she's Tina Turner, and you ask her, "Hey, what high school did you go to?"
Yeah, Sumner.
Sumner. It's like, oh, I know a few people who. Wait, what class? You could actually have that discussion. You could have had that discussion with Tina Turner.
Yeah,
that's how St. Louis she was.
That's right. She had an answer to it.
She had an answer to it.
Started her performance career right here in the area.
Yep.
Both sides of the state line.
Man.
Okay, final here. The Reds thumped the Cardinals in Cincinnati last night. Final score was 10-3. Brendan Donovan, Lars Nootbaar both had home runs. So now the series is Cincinnati 2 games, St. Louis 1 game. Final game of the series. Cardinals hoping for a split is the early one in MLB. It starts at 11:35. All right, 314-912-1019, or you can hit us up on social media. Ron DeSantis technically glitches his way into the campaign, but people are still finding that discussion We'll let you hear for a couple of his comments from the interviews that he did. What do you think about his presence in the race? Let's talk about it at 8:34 on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Oh, yes, I'm touched by this show of emotion.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Nice and mild this morning and dry with lower humidity and mild temperatures. A beautiful start to the day. We'll see a mix of clouds and sun with lots of sun at times and the high temperature about 79 degrees, but lower humidity today. Even better tomorrow. Full-on sunshine. Lows in the low 50s in the morning and Friday's high in the mid to upper 70s. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
This is Julia Gordon-Bramer, your host of Mystic Fix. I'm a professional tarot card reader, author, and scholar of mysticism. Mystic Fix offers playful, practical advice and spiritual tools for modern living. It's a program for the whole being and journeying the lesser-traveled paths. Each show features guests and authors in lively conversation, ranging from crystals to Kabbalah, yoga to Yetis, and of course, tarot card reading.
Mystic Fix, Saturday nights at 8 on News Talk STL.
Listen anytime.
It happens
anywhere. Everywhere.
Every day continues to bring more news.
With the News Talk STL app. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
Hey everybody, it's Paul Kurtman. Make sure you join me every Saturday from 12 to 1 here on News Talk STL for the Paul Kurtman Show. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Women of a certain age, they learn to rely and judge on his responses, having faith of making gain.
Late, great Tina Turner. Hate the fact that I have to say the late.
Yeah.
But definitely the great Tina Turner.
So great. I mean, listen to this.
Yeah.
Come
See,
on.
and if I listen to, like, I've got Sirius XM in my car when I'm not listening to, talk, or I'm going around listening to music, a lot of MLB Network. I listen to the 80s on 8 a lot. And so you hear a lot of Tina Turner.
No.
But this is the era that you hear. Yeah, that and Hair Nation.
Yeah. I know.
This is so good.
She's such a great performer, too.
Man. I mean, we got a presidential campaign.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we got to talk about news and stuff. This is a news talk station. Okay, so
I'd rather listen to Tina Turner. Okay, so Ron DeSantis makes it official, jumps into the race, kind of stumbles in.
Yeah.
Again, not really his fault, but it doesn't matter whose fault it is. It was a stumbling into the race. We talked yesterday about he's doing the Twitter conversation with Elon Musk to start with, and we thought, man, that's unique. We did mention it is a little bit of a risk.
Yeah.
But the risk, I didn't think technical issues. I mean, this is Elon Musk. He's the technology guy.
Right.
I didn't think there was going to be any issue. I thought, but Elon Musk is going to ask you tough questions.
Right.
Just because Elon Musk will, this is one of the few people who can go toe-to-toe with Joe Rogan.
Right.
I mean, this is a guy who is a very I would say out of the box thinker, but his mind works in weird ways.
Yes.
Which makes him very successful, makes him very interesting. And we thought, boy, that's really interesting because it's not a controlled environment. And we talked about not a controlled environment. We didn't think that the servers would crash. And so they're starting off the presidential campaign with, hey, switch it off and switch it back on and see,
exactly.
see if that works.
Yeah, I mean, if he'd come out on stage and it was like, is this thing, can anybody hear me? Guys, could you come and take a look? And 20 minutes later, now you actually get to start the conversation. Yeah, I mean, it was a little rough, but I think once they got going, it basically just became or at least what I was expecting, which was a long form conversational sort of exploration of where he stands on a myriad of issues. When I did manage to tune in, I heard like a whole bunch of other different voices too asking him questions. So various people kind of got in. And I was like, oh wow, it's almost like a round table. He's pulling questions from all over the Twitter space. So it was very interesting.
It's interesting you talk about that because, Stel, we had Jerry Wilson from RedState.com on yesterday, and he mentioned that is kind of the campaign strength of DeSantis is getting into those sort of, whether you call it a town hall or a round table, that type of situation. And no, it's not the massive numbers of a rally that you're going to have, that Trump or others are going to have, but early evidence seems to indicate that people are seeking out that conversation and they're listening to it on at least on the Twitter file that we've been tracking here. So it was a stumble out of the blocks technologically on Twitter's part, but people are going out of their way to listen to it.
I think he handles his interactions very well, and I saw a bunch of clips last night from legacy media and a lot of the cable stations where they're bashing him and saying that he doesn't interact well with people, and they're trying to keep him away from here and there. Who are you?
Yeah,
who are you looking at? Who are you watching?
Yeah,
you got to be
Where's that coming from?
I have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard the same thing. I've seen the same thing. I remember the first time I saw it, I'm like, well, that's really weird because that's like his strength. That one of the ways he built his political career is kind of like, and I don't mean in a policy sense, but almost Clinton-esque, referring to Bill Clinton, the way that he built rapport with people. DeSantis isn't that charismatic, but he certainly has had no problem, dealing with people at all different levels of politics.
I agree. I think he interacts very well with folks, especially on a personal basis. I've seen him on a dais going around and talking to the other folks and gets into the crowd, introduces himself. I don't understand where these other folks are getting the idea that he has communication issues, because he doesn't. He's fine.
And really, I think this is the right way to go. It would be dumb to me for him to try to compete with Trump on the Trumpian level of, okay, I'm going to have a big rally. I'm going to try to get a stadium and fill it with people who are screaming for me to come out. That would be a bad idea. He would not get. I don't think he would get the type of numbers that.
And can I
Trump
also
could
point out, just from a political science perspective, those rallies are impressive.
They are.
They don't win elections.
Right.
Especially caucuses.
Yes, because caucuses are different than popular primaries.
Right.
Yeah. So,
now, there's a place for it. Don't get me wrong. It does amplify a message. It's a big megaphone. But I think there's a lot of people who are very new to politics. And I'm talking about like activists who have come on in the last 6-7 years or so. I think there's a lot of people who point to those rallies and they'll say, look at that. That's clearly, that shows you that we're winning. Okay, that shows you can put on a rally. And it's not to saying that they're not important, but to say that that's evidence that a candidate is winning because other candidates can't put that many people into a room or a fair or a stadium or something like that. It's kind of political naivety to point that out. So to say that nobody else could have a giant 20,000 person rally or 10,000 person rally, probably nobody else is going to be able to do that, but that doesn't mean that you're the winning candidate.
Not necessarily. I think it does. The energy level kind of idea of it is absolutely
momentum builders.
Momentum builder.
Without a doubt.
It's the type of place where you can recruit people to do your ground game, and the ground game is actually where the elections are won. Is getting people out, and I dare say, because of the world we're living in right now, and I really hope every single Republican candidate does this. I really hope that their ground game gets involved in dealing with mail-in ballots everywhere that those things are still part of the law. The mail-in ballots, the ballot harvesting. Yes, we can talk against it all we want, but if it's the law, you need to use it.
And work to outlaw it while you use it.
Exactly. I mean, it's the same thing as reparations. I think it's stupid. I don't want it to happen. But if they wrote me a check, I'm cashing it.
And
it would be dumb if I didn't.
You're taking us out to lunch then.
And I'm taking everybody out to lunch.
And Chris Arps has already promised to take me out to lunch too. And
Yes.
Chris, one update. He said I can order dessert.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. I guess we could do that. But the other thing I'm doing though with that reparation check is I'm giving to the types of candidates who would make reparations go away. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how the Republican Party needs to play this whole deal with the ballot problems. It's like, you know what? The Democrats have weaponized our elections against us on some level. Well, we need to weaponize it back at them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If somebody shoots at you, you shoot back. You don't say, "Hey, stop." Right?
Please.
Am I wrong?
Please.
No, you're right.
There
Because
you go.
otherwise you're dead.
Otherwise, you're dead.
Yep. So with DeSantis, keep in mind, and you put this really well a little bit earlier in the program, Stell, is that campaigns are a marathon. They are not a sprint. They are a marathon. And I would caution, regardless of who your candidate is, do not look at, first of all, don't look at polls at all. But secondly, you look at what's out there and you do not assume that this is over at all. You know, is there a big head start for Donald Trump? Absolutely there is. He's got a massive voter base that is engaged. Whether it's at the same level as 2016, I don't know. But we're going to see, does Ron DeSantis have a big voter base? Yes, he does. Is it as big as Donald Trump's? No. Not right now. But I think there are a lot of people still going to be making up their minds over the next year or so, and we're going to get to contrast. But what you said, Gabe, is so spot on, is that Ron DeSantis should not, or Nikki Haley or Vivek Ramaswamy or, anybody else, Larry Elder, who am I missing here?
Hutchinson,
Asa Hutchinson. Yeah, I forgot about him.
Everybody forget about him.
Easy to forget about him.
Yeah.
None of them should try to campaign on Trump's terms.
No.
You campaign on your terms. And then people will decide whether they like you or not. But don't try to do it on Trump's terms. One person can campaign on Trump's terms, and that's Donald Trump.
Yep. There it is.
Stell's just.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were winning.
No, we're just.
He's thinking of
I
next
agree.
year to turn.
I was thinking of a baseball analogy regarding the crowds because you guys mentioned, Trump's drawing all these crowds. It would be like when I was a kid, the White Sox didn't draw very well. But when the Yankees were in town, it was packed at Comiskey Park. So if you looked at the stats at the end of the year for attendance for White Sox games, you would think, well, these guys have been drawing pretty good. Well, no, actually, you got you got the Bronx Bombers coming in, drawing 60,000 for a 4-game series. You got other great teams coming in. The Sox weren't all that good in the 50s and 60s, but it would be as though you're thinking, wow, this team is really pretty good. Well, you know what? The crowds, I agree with you. It's not. It's not a big deal.
And I'm not saying that they don't have a role to play.
Yeah, they're an indicator.
They do. I mean,
they are relevant.
Somebody puts a 5,000-10,000 person rally together. That's a big deal. That's impressive. It really is. But there are so many people, and again, people who tend to be new to politics look at that and say, that's proof positive that it's over. Nobody else is good. No, guys, that's just one part of this aspect. I mean,
it's a whole constellation of things that go into it.
After that conversation with Elon Musk, and after it went up, over $1 million in donations came into Ron DeSantis' campaign.
In that first hour.
In the first hour.
Yeah. That's what they've reported so far. That number has continued to increase, and it's going to.
Yeah. And so we are probably in for a very intense, and I mean that in both a good and bad way.
Yeah.
Very intense campaign, essentially between Trump and DeSantis. There are other candidates there, and they have something to say, and we're going to listen to them as well. But it's going to be intense. Expect, and we've already seen it, a lot of attacks from Trump onto DeSantis. But so far, DeSantis, I think, has just said, nah, I'm talking to the voters. I'm not dealing directly with Donald Trump, which I think is a smart strategy.
That's smart, yep.
As well. But, that's just what we're in for the next several months. All right, 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Women who have made mistakes are a
Ron DeSantis is now officially part of the 2024 presidential race. We'll discuss the impact of his announcement and reaction from both sides of the political aisle on Thursday with Dr. Randy Tobler at 3:05.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they were very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
No paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
You can win a district attorney election in most of the major metropolitan areas for under $1 million, and some for as little as $75,000.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
And so if you're a billionaire like George Soros, I think he spent a total of now only $29 million in buying DA races around the country. Soros funded prosecutors. They find a way to use their political power to prosecute their political adversaries and to promote what they would call progressive social change.
Mark McCloskey on fire. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
The news and talk that affects St. Louis.
They went to great lengths to hide Joe's involvement. They even gave him nicknames like Big Guy.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
But make no mistake, Joe Biden was involved.
News Talk STL.
Hi, this is Mark McCloskey. Check out my show, Mark McCloskey on Fire, Sunday afternoon at 5 here on News Talk STL. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You must understand, the touch of your hand makes my pulse react. That it's only the thrill of boy meeting girl opposites attract.
Still, do you know how much songwriting she did with her own music, or was she?
No, she had songwriters. You know what? It's interesting to see the list of band members who traveled with her on tour and also studio musicians. Just an awesome group on both counts. Really, really classy musicians, both on the road and in the studio, who worked with her, along with some great songwriters.
Got to do with it. Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken?
So Tina Turner really brought songs to life, though, like few other people could.
Oh yeah. That's what I mean when I say like how much of a performer she is. You can hear. I mean, there are some people who, you know, when they get into the studio, they just kind of do the studio thing, and then when they're live, it's like, oh wow, there's so much life in their performance. She manages to do that in both.
Yep.
You know, you get her in the booth and you can hear her performing with her voice. You can almost see her emoting through every single syllable of the song. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the 80s version of Tina Turner, which you're listening to right now in the background, it was more poppy, but she had a great rock voice, brought that to it. Clearly, you know, old good R&B and soul influences as well. I mean, I would say influences, but you look back to the 60s. She set the tone. She would be one of those who influenced others.
Yeah, absolutely. I think her type of music. I mean, you kind of have to go back to the 80s to understand that this was different. This was no one had really done this before. this type of melding of a sort of soulful, soul music and rock and pop into the brand of music that she could produce. It was totally new, a new genre essentially, and that created kind of a niche that other artists would come to fill, like your Whitney Houstons and your Christina Aguilera's and your Beyonce Knowles. All of them, I think, fill the niche that Tina Turner created.
Yeah. And if you walk up and down the Loop in U City, there's a star, Tina Turner, right there, the Walk of Famous St. Louisans.
She's ours.
Because she launched her career right here. And so I was looking at some of the TV websites, news websites a little bit earlier, and of course people went out and found the star, and there's a bunch of flowers there, candles there, some things that left there, which is to be expected. She only lived here for a few years, but they were incredibly formative years, so it's not like she was born and raised here. She came here when she was 15 or 16 years old, and she left when she joined she left with Ike Turner. She left St. Louis with the Ike Turner ensemble that he put out there. And she was only about 18 at that time. So she went right into entertainment after performing, on the club scene on both the Missouri, but particularly East Side. A lot of performances on the Illinois side back when the club scene was a little bit different than what it is now on that side.
Yeah.
And she was able to capitalize on the MTV generation.
Oh, yeah.
She had that opportunity to really lock in with everything that MTV was doing. And that, I think, helped her career explode in the early to mid 80s.
Yeah, she was one of the key figures in that golden era of MTV. That really is. She was custom made for MTV. MTV was custom made for her as well. But I mentioned, for instance, when Private Dancer came out, and I don't remember what year that was. It would have been early mid 80s, probably when that came out. So I'm in the junior high school era. That's my age group.
84.
Okay, so 84, I'm in junior high. And when that comes out, I'd never heard of Tina Turner back at that age.
Yeah.
In that time. Then I go back and find, Proud Mary. Then I go back and find, these other great music, which
River Deep, Mountain High.
Yeah. You find all of that, and then it kind of expands your musical taste and your musical palette. But what I remember was the 80s pop rock stuff.
Yeah,
and that was great stuff.
And I found her. I'm just a little younger than you are. I found her when she showed up in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. as an 80s movie buff like I was, like her performance, I thought, oh wow, that lady's really cool. And then I found out that she had sung the song for that movie, like one of the seminal songs of it, We Don't Need Another Hero. And then I went back and looked, and I was like, oh wait a minute, I know this lady. She, I hear her music coming out of my sister's room.
Right.
Okay. So, and then that's when I really became a fan.
And of course, one of the funny things about her career and her icon is she was, okay, I'm really not being misogynistic here, but back in the day, she was known for her legs.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Was it a pantyhose endorsement deal that she
might
had?
have been.
I think it was one of those. But that's literally one of the things that she was famous for, was the fact that she just had great gams.
Oh my God. Well, I'm pretty sure that was through her entire career.
Yeah.
Her legs were kind of a prominent feature of all of her stage performances. And yes, as well they should have been.
And nobody complained.
Hey,
no.
My wife has great legs, and Tina has great legs.
Same.
Exactly. There you go.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, so she TV, movies, music, advertising, she just and she accomplished all of this while escaping from an abusive, physically abusive, brutally abusive early life. So it's just impressive. And she's one of the few that just had this iconic true international superstardom. You just don't say that about a whole lot of people. So the fact that it ran through St. Louis is pretty cool, even though it was just here for a few years.
Yeah, and if you want to know more about her story, you can go back and check out the What's Love Got to Do with the movie, which stars Angela Bassett and Lawrence Fishburne, I believe, as Ike.
Yes.
Yep. He did play Ike. It's got to be tough to play somebody who was that kind of brutal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's been a bad guy in movies before, I suppose.
Yeah, he's
so,
a good bad guy.
Yeah,
he's a great good guy.
He's
too.
a great good guy. Yeah.
When he took over the lead role in CSI, I'm like, come on, really? You're gonna replace Grissom? And he did a great job with that. Just a really talented guy. So it's a great movie. I imagine this Memorial Day weekend, there's going to be a lot of people who are looking up that movie. I'm probably going to do it. Check out that movie.
I'm sure
it's
streaming somewhere.
Fairview Heights, I'm coming your way tonight. Got one of my old man baseball games, so I'm going to be out at Moody Park off Longacre. First pitch around 7 o'clock. If you want to see a free baseball game, come see some old man baseball tonight.
Thanks for listening on this Thursday morning, and welcome home.
The flow of information.
This week on News Talk STL.
Take a look at what's going on.
To get to the bottom.
News, analysis, opinion.
Highly credible whistleblower describes an alleged criminal scheme